Okay, 8 o'clock. So we'll reconvene the meeting. Next, we have consent calendar, item 8 to 15. Anyone wish to pull any item? No, I see no. So we'll hear public comment first. Do I have any hands for comments?
Let's see. I have no request to speak from in Community Hall, and I see no request to speak virtually, Mayor.
Okay, great. Then may I have a motion for item 8 to 15?
I motion to approve items 8 through 15 on the consent calendar.
Second.
Great. So anyone will wish to make any comment? No? Okay, then let's vote.
Mayor, I'm sorry. I'm having a little trouble with this current voting system, so may I request a voice vote?
Okay.
Councilmember Fruin?
Aye.
Councilmember Mohan?
Aye.
Councilmember Wong?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Moore?
Aye.
Mayor Chow?
Aye.
The motion carries unanimously.
Okay. So next, item 16. Introduce the amendments for an update to the accessory dwelling units, ADUs. Interim City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. And I just want to say thank you to everybody for your patience tonight. It's the first time we are implementing these upgrades, so apologize for the tech. We'll be better prepared at the next meeting. I don't know if you can still hear me, but better that I talk less. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to our Community Development Department staff to take this item forward. Thank you.
All right. Well, mine's working. John Martyr, Senior Planner, Community Development, and I will be giving a brief presentation on the proposed.
Yeah, it seems you need to be closer to the mic or.
Sure. Does that work?
Yeah,
Okay,
better.
Thank you. All right. Again, John Martyr, Senior Planner, Community Development Department, and I will be giving a brief presentation on the proposed amendments as introduced by the Mayor. A little bit of background on this is that starting with the council's approval of the ADU ordinance back in February 23rd, 2024, the city staff had submitted, as consistent with state law, on the 29th, the new ordinance for HCD review. What the review is consistency with state law, with local ordinances, to determine conformity and whatnot. What has been problematic throughout the state is that HCD takes typically a year to a year and a half to review the ordinance, at which time between the changes and their review, multiple state laws were introduced, as well as came into effect as in January 1st, 2025, which pretty much made our ordinance obsolete. And so, in the city's response to HCD, and again, this HCD sent a letter to the city on April 24th, basically saying as much. And so, staff responded on May 19th, stating its intent to comply with all provisions of state law and amend the municipal code by September 30th, 2025. Two of those state bills that were adopted during the review of the city's prior ordinance amendment were SB 1211, AB 2533. SB 1211 amended table as bulleted on the slide. Table 1911 Table 19.112.030B, the existing multifamily dwelling units, they're actually allowed with this Senate bill up to 8 detached units, but not more than a number of existing units on the lot, which means if you have a 6-unit multifamily development, you are allowed up to 6 detached units. Proposed multifamily dwelling, not more than 2 detached ADUs. So one multifamily development that's not built yet can only have 2 detached ADUs. Assembly Bill 2533 added language to our Section 19.112.050, which sets additional restrictions for city's review of ADU and JDU applications, including unpermitted ADUs and JDUs, particularly those constructed prior to January 1, 2020, which we'll go through a little bit more now. Basically, the cities cannot require correction of nonconforming zoning violations in conjunction with approval of a permit, and cannot require correction of building standard violations on unpermitted structures which are not a threat to public health and safety. Occupancy. So staff had updated updated the ordinance to reflect the government code that ADUs cannot receive final occupancy before the primary unit receives occupancy. After our ordinance was adopted back in 2023, the government code sections were reorganized, meaning that we had to go back and match those government code sections. So it's more of a formatting and consistency with numbering at this stage. Multifamily ADUs, this section. Throughout the last ordinance update, we treat duplexes as single-family homes or similar. Their standards for ADUs were consistent with single-family developments. One of the comments from HCD was that duplexes are actually multifamily developments per state law, not single-family homes. So duplex references to duplexes in the single-family streamlined portion were removed and put in the multifamily development section, as well as size limitations for detached ADUs. We originally had 1,200 square feet. Unfortunately, there's no mention of a maximum size for detached ADUs and multifamily developments, so that maximum size was removed. Non-streamlined ADUs. Again, non-streamlined ADUs are essentially ADUs on single-family developments, which are over 800 square feet that are attached and detached. We updated the parking portion of the ordinance that if an ADU was, even non-streamlined ADU was submitted in conjunction with this new single-family home, the city may not require an ADU, may not require parking for an ADU or whatnot if it's done in conjunction with a new single-family home. Structure design, we did require detached ADUs to be consistent, detached non-streamlined ADUs to be consistent with the primary dwelling unit design. It was very vague, the standards. That was one of HCD's comments. So staff had added specific standards for design in 5 areas of town, including the Eichler area, Monte Vista, as well as R1A. So that there are some objective standards for design that these non-streamlined ADUs would have to meet. The Planning Commission heard this item for recommendation on July 8th of this year. They recommend PC recommended that for approval to council 4-0 with Commissioner Fung absent. They did remove the proposed design standard for non-streamlined ADUs, so there was a standard that staff had put in the draft ordinance originally, which stated that detached ADUs should match materials and roof, such as siding and roofing materials of the principal dwelling unit. It was found that by the planning commissioners that would be a burden on single-family homeowners, and that section was recommended to be removed. There is an errata on this that unfortunately the draft ordinances as attached to both the clean and red line versions still had that in there. So with your motion, just be aware that That standard's still in there unintentionally, so that should be removed by the second reading, if so inclined by the council. Post-Plan Commission recommendation for revision as it relates to the housing element. So one of the strategies in the housing element is that the accessory dwelling units, a maximum of up to 2 for duplexes, is that we maintain currently what we have for duplexes, and that they are still treated like single-family homes in terms of the amount of ADUs they may have on site. This goes above what's allowed in state law. And so between the Planning Commission's recommendation and tonight, staff has reintroduced those duplex allowances in the multifamily streamlined section of the ordinance. And you can see within the red line version of the ordinance in that table where they are located. The recommended action is that the City Council conduct a first reading of this ordinance. And as stated as an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Cupertino, amending municipal codes chapters 1908 definitions and 19112 accessory dwelling units regarding accessory dwelling units. And the next step is that this draft ordinance is tentatively scheduled for second reading at the City Council hearing on September 16th. And that concludes my presentation.
Okay, so now council member questions. Anyone would like to start with your question? What did I do? Okay, so did anyone raise hand?
That function doesn't exist yet. That, just as a point of order, that function doesn't exist yet, so we'll have to let you know that we want to speak.
I think that function is available. It's just I cannot leave the home panel. So that's what I'm told.
If you hit RTS, it looks like it sort of functions.
So RTS doesn't work yet?
It works. I tested it.
It works, I think, right? RTS request to speak works. It's just I cannot leave the home panel. As long as I don't leave the home panel, it works.
Let's try it.
It works.
So that is correct. We were not going to use it for this meeting, but if you are willing to leave the screen open on your monitor the entire meeting, then...
But I don't see who requested to speak here.
Oh,
Did you-
let me...
Did you request?
It says Fruin and then Wong, so on the home panel.
On the...
Go to home panel, request to speak list.
But
No, to the right.
to the right?
The list.
Oh, here. Okay. Oh, okay. I see that. So now, Councilmember Fruin.
Okay, I guess I'll go. I was... If you could please repeat for us the standard that you said had been inadvertently left in the existing draft ordinance.
I'm almost afraid to talk. It was a standard that required that all non-streamlined detached ADUs be consistent in design with materials as a principal dwelling unit. We are keeping these standards that within 5 zoning districts in the city, R1A, Eichler as an example, that they match if they are considered non-streamlined.
Okay. So to be consistent with the Planning Commission recommendation, which I think was to drop those for at least all of the other zoning districts that aren't special, what would you need from us?
Nothing, sorry.
Yes. I don't know if the public can hear you, though.
The attendees on Zoom may not be able to hear you.
All right, let me put it right here. Is that off? Just make sure that's off. Okay, perfect. So so we'll maintain those 5. If I can, maybe if I have the ordinance open, I don't think I have it open on right here. So we would maintain the 5s like plan development. So if Oak Valley has design standards in their plan development. So a detached ADU that's non-streamlined would have to meet those design standards, such as the Eichler district as well, hillside zones, But if you are an R15, R16, or any of the R1s that don't have, per ordinance, a specific design standard, you would not have to meet, you would not have to match the principal dwelling unit in terms of materials and whatnot. It was just felt it was too onerous on property owners, especially if your house is built in the 70s or 60s in some of those older subdivisions.
Got it. And is it your view that the design standards, for example, for the Eichler district are actually objective enough that they could be followed and enforced?
So there are R1E, R16E has separate standards than other R1 districts. So we feel that in terms of roof slope is one. And I believe some others aren't popping in my head, but for sure roof slope is one that does stick out as a standard that can be quantifiably measured, that we think is objective enough.
Okay. All right. And then, the rest of what I had to offer was just more a comment that I thought you did a very good job of reorganizing the ordinance between the Planning Commission and now, especially in terms of accommodating consistency with the housing element. It looks very clean. It's easy to read. So thank you.
Okay. Vice Mayor, and then Councilmember Wong.
Okay. Thank you for the presentation. I do have a question for the city attorney. I do live in the Eichler neighborhood, and is it recommended that I either abstain or recuse from this vote? Also, a question for planning is, I thought the R1E standards were not mandatory, and that individuals are following it because they like the design style. So I'm also wondering if that first part, because the language is reading like it's a shall. You shall follow the main structure, but if it's not mandatory for the main structure, how does that work? Okay, thank you. There's two questions there.
First, let me ask, does this ordinance apply throughout the city or just in specific neighborhoods?
Well, it's throughout this. The whole ordinance is throughout the city, but there's one call out amongst the streamline table which lists specific zoning districts that have or potentially could have design standards, such as So I mean, if I'm able to share the screen, I have the R1E zoning ordinance up right now to show you which standards are objective and whatnot. So for example, right here, yes, you're correct. We do have a Eichler design guidelines, which are separate than the ordinance. Those are more, unfortunately, are voluntary, but yes, you are correct about that. But we do have these in 1928-080 R1E, which have more quantifiable features, such as maximum roof slope is 3 to 12, rise over run, wood siding, the distance apart. First floor shall be no more than 12 inches above the existing grade, exterior wall heights, et cetera, et cetera. So these are some of the objective standards that there's not a lot of them. Agreed. I agree with you on that. There's not a lot, but we feel that these are objective enough that HCD would agree that they're quantifiable and they're for non-streamlined ADUs. So unfortunately, if someone were to build a 500-foot detached ADU in the R1E, we couldn't apply these standards, but anything above that, we feel pretty confident that we could apply these.
Are these changes that are applying specifically to the Eichler neighborhood?
I mean, what I'm showing you right now?
I'm asking if what I'm looking at now are actual changes to the ordinance, or this is the way the ordinance looks today, and if any of the changes apply specifically to the Eichler neighborhood in a different way than they apply to other neighborhoods throughout the city.
So what you're looking at right now is what's existing in the current municipal code. So what's being shared on the screen is not changes to municipal code. These are existing.
Are any of the changes that you're looking to have the council vote on today apply only to or specifically to the Eichler neighborhoods?
Not only to, no. They're citywide with certain call outs for non-streamlined ADUs within certain neighborhoods to mirror the principal dwelling unit.
I'm having trouble hearing you. When you say specific call-outs, does that mean they specifically apply only to that neighborhood, or they're being called out just to say, hey, they apply to this neighborhood too, even though they apply across the city?
I would say more the latter, but if you are building a detached streamlined ADU within certain neighborhoods, their design would have to meet the principal dwelling unit.
I missed the last part of that sentence.
So if you have a home within 5 districts, these 5 districts have or potentially could have certain design standards, your detached ADU would have to meet the design, the materials, and any other objective design standard within that neighborhood.
Okay, now I understand. In my opinion, I think that these changes apply throughout the city, and I don't think they apply to your neighborhood any differently than they would be applying to the rest of the city. And so I don't think that you have a specific conflict of interest, but if you feel conflicted in any way about voting, then I would suggest that you recuse yourself.
Madam Mayor, if I might interject just really briefly, these are only for non-streamlined ADUs, right? So they have to adhere to setback requirements, including in the backyard, correct?
Setback, floor area ratio, lot coverage, et cetera.
Yeah. And Eichlers occupy really small lots with rather small, and at least in Cupertino anyway, generally small backyards. So I don't even think on the materiality standard that you'd be able to say you'd be able to build one of these. So I wouldn't worry about it too much.
So, any more questions, Vice Mayor? Then Councilmember Wong.
Thank you. I know you put a lot of time into this and trying to navigate state law. The state continues to make everyone's lives more miserable with more regulation, making the housing costs go up. But let me remind the public, what constitutes a high transit area?
We have a few in the city, mainly Stevens Creek Boulevard. It has to deal with, whether we have high transit corridors. I guess.
So 4 buses per hour is high transit, but 3 isn't. Is that correct?
Correct. I think the headways are about 15. I think they're 20 minutes now. It's still 15? Okay.
I believe it's still 15.
Okay, 15.
And these areas continue to have exceptions for additional height by 2 feet, correct?
As well,
from 18 to 20 feet based on what we've changed?
As well as certain parking forgiveness for non-streamlined ADUs.
Correct. So high transit lines, if you live anywhere near a high transit line, you can have an ADU up to 20 feet, and you can peer over your neighbors, past the fence line, past all that. That's what we're allowing here with the ADU laws. Not your fault. State required. Nothing. We're just doing complying. I just want the public to know that's what's going on. So
within a half mile, correct?
Within a half mile, and a half mile is pretty big here in Cupertino. Like that goes in even to my neighborhood. I think I'm a half mile. Now, are there fire codes that should be applied because of these additional units? Now that they're closer, they're denser, it creates a fire hazard. Does that change things?
Sure. I mean, any review of a building permit, including ADU, would require fire review. So they will look on a case-by-case basis, like fire-rated walls, whatnot. We still maintain a 5-foot separation between any detached ADU as well as the principal dwelling unit.
So we can keep those standards at least?
Absolutely. HCD, I said, they didn't comment on any of those standards when they review that. In fact, our letter, as evident, was pretty good compared to what most cities get back, So I thought the council did a pretty good job last time around.
No, I looked at 10 cities, HCD letters. We did do pretty well, so congratulations on doing that. I just wanted to point that out because I want the public to know the impact of what a high transit area every 15 minutes on a bus line does to our housing. And it's a very important point for everybody to know that if you drop that to 3 times an hour, you don't have a high transit line, and these half-mile requirements do not apply. So just listen to that, everybody. Just be careful. Thank you very much. You guys did a wonderful job. Appreciate it.
Vice Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilmember Wong, for bringing that up. Because one of the strange issues that we have in Cupertino is that Stevens Creek Boulevard does not have the highest average daily traffic. That's actually De Anza Boulevard. And that's De Anza all the way from Prospect up to Homestead. So the most recent traffic count I have has 50,570 average daily trips per day. Whereas Stevens Creek Boulevard, its highest segment is 32,950. Yet that has the buses on it, where De Anza arguably has a higher need. In fact, Wolf Road between Stevens Creek Boulevard and Homestead is higher than the highest segment of Stevens Creek, at over 33,000. So it is somewhat arbitrary how the VTA is basically determining our land use and the changes that we're having here. Okay, thanks for bringing that up.
Okay, so I have some questions. So according to the update, there will be no limit on the size of detached ADUs for multifamily.
Correct.
And are we allowed to set limit? I mean, they could be 4,000 square foot ADUs.
So state law does not mention any limits for detached ADUs and multifamily
It doesn't
development.
mention, it doesn't mean we cannot set a limit, right?
Well, one of the comments from the state was that we had a limit. So in the comment letter, one of the comments from HCD was that we could not have a limit for the 1,200 square feet.
But that's not the state law, that's just what HCD says. What I'm asking is whether the state law prohibit the city from setting a limit. For example, the state law would only require a 4-foot setback. Can I say if you want 4-foot setback, your ADU cannot be more than 1,200 square feet. If it's 4,000 square foot, I'm sorry, your setback have to be 12 feet because that means they cannot take advantage of setback to build a really large ADU. So can we set that objective standard?
Like I said, HCD was pretty clear in comment 6 that we cannot have a
HCD
limit.
doesn't make law.
Well,
I'm asking
okay.
what the state law says.
If I could just interject, and hopefully I'm not going to blow the room out either. We had gotten legal advice from the city attorney, not Floy, who's present tonight, about this issue. And the advice we had received is we could not have a 1,200 square foot cap on multifamily if they were to have an ADU.
Are we allowed to have 2,400 square foot?
I do not know if there was no number given, just that you could not have 1,200 square feet.
They just don't like the 1,200 square foot cap. It doesn't mean, if we said 2,400 square foot, it might be reasonable. If we say, if you want the setback to be it can be related to the setback, right? So we can come up with something that at least set a reasonable limit.
There may be, but I am not aware of a square footage limit that we could apply. It's certainly not one that HCD would agree with.
Certainly we are not violating any state law by setting a limit. They just don't like 1,200 square foot.
I would not know whether we're violating a state law or not. I know 1,200 square feet was found not to be something we could do.
If I might interject, Mayor, in comment 6 in the HCD letter, it does cite specifically to Government Code Section 66323.
CD doesn't make law.
And it goes through the entirety of the Government Code. So the Government Code is the law, and HCD is empowered to interpret it. So I'm not really, if the city attorney is also providing us.
So does the state law specifically prohibit the city from setting a limit?
That is a good question that I can't answer. I'm sure that the lawyers who were working with our planners looked into that, but they might not have looked into that with the sort of like detailed look at what, even if HCD is saying you must do something, what if there's an argument
For
that actually the
example,
law provides
It
for
could
that?
be that the ADU shouldn't be bigger than the average size of the units of that development, right?
Yeah, I suggest that we go back to our the lawyers who handle our planning questions and specifically pose that question to them and see where we come out.
Yeah, that's okay. And then I think for the housing element, we adopt a specific standard for the corner lots to allow R2 standards, which is duplex right now. And then some of these, the state law relaxed that. I think at the time when we adopt the corner lot, the message we are telling the community is these corner lots are not multifamily development. They are duplex. We are just allowing them to develop a single family lot into duplex. So does the state law now trump or force us to violate the promise we've made to the community?
No, the state law does not affect the strategy in the housing element. In that case, those are R1 zone lots that would remain R1 zone. They would just have the flexibility or the option to use R2 standards, but their zoning would not become R2.
So the duplex that's in the language does not apply to that.
Correct. That is a
Okay,
separate issue
that's really
from
good
what's
to know.
happening here.
Then for those that's already existing or allow duplex, if they are considered multifamily, my understanding is multifamily is 5 units or more, and then density bonus law applies. So would density bonus law apply to duplexes now that they can get any number of concession
Yeah, I mean,
waivers?
as it relates to ADU law, I mean, density bonus doesn't apply until you hit 5 units of the base density. So, nowhere on this does it.
But if they do duplex plus ADUs, it could hit 5 units. Does that count?
It could not. It could only go up to 4.
Okay,
R1
so-
zone could also go to 4 units with 3 ADUs and 1 primary residence. So you cannot get to 5 in R1 or R2.
But with the duplex, they could,
They can only have 2 ADUs
have 2
with a
ADUs.
duplex, so it's 4 total.
But even then, Mayor, ADUs can't count towards density, right? So
I don't know, I'm asking.
No,
So
okay,
it-
sorry.
so when they-
Maybe my tone was wrong, but ADUs don't count towards density. So
Okay,
if
so
makes
that
sense.
will,
Yeah.
they cannot add the ADU to count towards the 5 units. Thank you. And then, so one of the bullet points, thank you for the nice summary. And so one of the bullet points says that we are removing, HCD thinks the 800 square foot language is not objective, so we are removing it entirely. And then then the architecture standard have to be referred to whatever existing policy there is for a specific area. For Eichler neighborhood, there is specific standard, but for most area of the city, there is no existing architecture standard. So by removing that language, that means there is no standard. So what's the fallback? Can we adopt a citywide standard? Since it does say that we are allowed to have area standard. So can we then adopt a citywide or region-wide standard?
So the non-streamlined ADUs have to meet the underlying zoning district. So whatever we have for R1s that are objective standards for design would have to apply to the ADU. To ask if we are to do a blanket objective standards, I mean, you would have to, correct me if I'm wrong, Luke, we would have to apply objective design standards to the principal dwelling units as well, for those to apply to the non-streamlined detached ADUs. So, and again, the Plan Commission recommended removal of that consistency between the principal dwelling unit and the detached non-streamlined ADUs because of what it could do to the property owner and disincentivize them to build an ADU. It's very difficult to find the same materials from the 1960s or 70s, or maybe your principal dwelling unit is not a nice looking house and you want to have a nice looking detached ADU. So that was an imposition that the Planning Commission felt would be placed on the property owner.
Okay, thank you so much. I think I'm out of time. Vice Mayor?
Okay. So I'm trying to understand that issue with the multifamily project and the size and the ability to have a cap, because I could envision a property that maybe has a large outdoor area and now they want to put in are we saying that you could put in a 5,000 square foot ADU under these rules right now? I mean, it kind of seems like that, and then if that is the case, I would like to see if there's some way if there's any way that we can limit that before either we would table this discussion or approve it and then have a modification before the second reading. Any thoughts on that?
Yes, I don't know what the motion would entail, whether if we could complete the first reading. I don't know if the city attorney might want to weigh in on that one.
You could do a first reading and then make amendments to the ordinance, and then basically have a second first reading.
But we need to adopt this by the end of September.
That was the commitment, was by September 30. Yeah, it may be possible if it's just that one single question of can you put a square footage limit on a multifamily ADU? Because I know the language in the letter is just saying objective standard, which is anything measurable. And which is why HCD rejected the 1,200 square foot. The conversation which I was part of, since that was the law, the answer was you can't have that limitation. I don't know is it possible to have something like 2,000 square feet? I don't know.
So
I would also wonder how many people are going to want to do an ADU of excessive size on a multifamily parcel. It would seem like a rare occurrence, to say the least. But
whether it's rare or not, we have there are people who are in the business of acquiring single-family homes for development. So we have to set objective standards. I think it's our duty as a city council to set that standard. So is it possible for some of these that we are not sure, like the 1,200 square feet, let's just leave it, not change it until we are sure? And we are not saying we won't change it. Yes, we know HCD doesn't like 1,200 feet, but we are working on it. So that should be good enough. And then that's not be, that I don't want to remove and then add it back, because then someone might be challenging us, say that we would adopt a relaxed standard and then restrict it. So yeah. Anyway. So maybe we should have public comment now. Any Council Member Wong and Council Member Fruin.
Yeah, I have two last questions. One, instead of setting a square footage limitation, could we set a percentage limitation? Would that not raise the ire of, HCD there?
I think we could ask the question legally. If the stance is that you can't have any objective development standard per HCD, and numbers are objective. Percentages are objective. Ratios are objective.
Exactly.
So happy to ask the question, clarify, and come back on this issue.
And the second question is, since we're in the world of building exceptions, so let's say we hypothetically had a basement, and now that I don't have an 800 square foot limit, I can just turn that into an ADU, right? The full square footage. Let's say I have a 3,000 square foot basement. I just make that an ADU if I want, right?
It's internal conversions don't have limits.
They don't count. Yeah. Let's have some fun with exceptions. Yeah. Thank you, policymakers who haven't thought through this. Not you guys, but the folks up in the state. Thank you.
Councilmember Fruin.
Yeah, so I think the operative language here that is the issue is not whether or not the size limitation is objective. 1,200 square feet is clearly objective. The issue is whether or not that is a standard that is authorized in that section of the government code, and it's not. There is a specific section there on like ADU and a JADU stuck together that's very specific, but there is no other section there that allows for or nominates a specific square footage or floor area ratio or anything like that. That's the issue. And it's specifically in the government code. I don't think HCD is engaging in any kind of interesting interpretive sleight of hand here. This is really straightforward.
Okay, thank you. It's interesting. State legislators want us to set objective standards, and then they say don't set objective standards. They are contradicting themselves. What can we do? Okay, no more requests to speak. Let's go to public comment.
Yes, Mayor, I have one request to speak from Community Hall, Jennifer Griffin, and I see one hand raised virtually, San Rao. Anyone requesting to speak, please submit your request now in the next 9 minutes. Welcome, Jennifer.
I'm scared to death. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
No, not really. Not really. It's
Okay. All right. So
Okay.
I'll hold it like this. I will tell you, in the last 7 years, everything that HCD has done is objectionable to me. I am a citizen of California. I have never once gotten to vote on these bloody ADU bills, okay? And they are changing them so fast. Even our poor planning people in the city, my God, the sympathy level here. The public can't keep up with it. The state is churning this stuff out. And, okay, yeah. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, my mother lives in the county. She's in the Coastal Conservancy in Aptos. She has a legal non-conforming ADU in her neighbor's bottom of her yard. Granted, this neighborhood was subdivided in 1920. It makes Monte Vista look like a desert flatland, okay? The woman who owns the primary house has a family living in her ADU. The woman has a 2-car garage with 2 parking places in front. She will not let any of her residents park anywhere on her property. All 3 of those cars, 17-year-old boy, mom and dad, and the dog, are all parked all over the road, which cannot even handle. You can have 1 car go through if everybody's parked on it. This is how bad it is. So in that situation, I don't think people understand that when we get the new governor, the head of HCD will be replaced, and it's good riddance, okay? At this point, I'm really concerned about HCD letting, and whoever makes these sloppy, I know which legislature people it has been, but they make sloppy laws. It's like sloppy SUD 79, and the sloppy ADU bills cause trouble for the public. I can't believe that HCD wouldn't have been unethical enough to, they know that thing was in there, that you could have a 5,000 square foot ADU. They just left it up for us to have to take care of. They hate the cities. This is the most awful. HCD is a totalitarian thing run by the state. I mean, I hate to have my life interrupted by fighting about how big the neighbor's garbage can is or their tree. But this is getting to the point where the grace is that the property values are so high, nobody's going to put in crappy stuff. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. And now we will move to those requesting to speak virtually. San Rao, welcome.
Yeah, good evening, Council members and Mayor Chow. I'm the chair of the Planning Commission, but speaking on behalf of myself only. I think the
San, we're not hearing your audio.
Hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, so I just want to state up front, I'm chair of the Planning Commission, but speaking on behalf of myself only. I think when this item was heard, I think one of the considerations that as someone that can sort of look back on what we looked at, I don't think we wanted to sort of go take on HCD on this item. This wasn't sort of the hill to go die on, if you will. If there are things that one had to tackle with HCD, it had to do more with density and commercial properties and the impacts of density. When we look at who, at the end of the day, is really benefiting from these ADUs, it is still single-family homeowners, and we are in an environment where commercial developments are increasingly free to do what they please to, while our single-family homeowners continue to have restrictive codes on them that prevent them from expanding their living footprint. And so I ask you to please consider this in the light of single-family homeowners not being restricted far beyond what is a reasonable expansion of their living space. In many cases, an ADU allows them to expand because the FAR does not. In other cases, it allows them to expand because they have family, such as grandparents or in-laws, that need to be accommodated. So I would urge you to think about who's at the end of the day benefiting from this, our single-family homeowners, and please allow them to have that benefit, because we could do far worse with many of the other things that we have to focus on. This is not the battle to fight HCD on, in my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you, San. Mayor, no additional requests to speak on this item?
Okay, thank you. Let's bring it back. So I think I asked in the supplemental, you answered, are we on target with our ADU performance? Can you elaborate on that?
Sure. Preliminarily, we reviewed the amount of building permit applications since Jan 1, 2023, and to today, we have about 201 that have been applied for. The APR had noted that, I believe unfortunately, I don't have the supplemental report in front of me, but I believe it was 40 permits were issued in 2023. I think it was a little over 40 to 50 were issued in 2024. So where the housing element anticipated 24 ADUs a year, we're pretty much doubling or close to doubling that production as predicted or anticipated.
Okay, thank you. That's good to know. And so some of the multifamily developments being proposed are also proposing to add new ADUs. So those would be counted towards our annual production of ADU, right?
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else have any comments on Vice Mayor?
I was wondering if perhaps we could have an informational memo to have some feedback about what the accessory dwelling units are actually being used for. And I don't know if you have that information for Cupertino, but the intention is that the hope is that these would be rented out to individuals, and that it's not a hobby room or an occasional guest room for family, but that you've got somebody actually living there full time. So if there's some support for that, I would really like to hear some information about how successful this is. And I pulled up the law to try to see if they had some information about the percentage of or size limit. So this is Government Code 66323, and it's an odd little sentence here. It says a local agency shall allow at least one accessory dwelling unit within an existing multi-family dwelling, and shall allow up to 25% of the existing multi-family dwelling units. Now, does someone know what that means? Is that talking about the size or how many you can have?
That's the amount of ADUs that can be converted within a multifamily structure.
Okay, and I'm not sure that that interpretation is fully from this one sentence, right?
I'd have to see the law to make that.
Yeah, because I was hoping that perhaps it was telling me 25% of the square footage, and that's how big your ADU could be. So I do think they could have written this a little bit more smartly than they did. So that being said, can we, when we go to make the motion, have some? We need to have information coming back about what the size limitations are. I'm not seeing something that says that you're not allowed to have that. And you could have someone, if you had a large lot with some apartments on it, with a center courtyard area, I can see somebody wanting to build a 5,000 square foot home there. And maybe they're the owner of the whole complex and they're gonna put a McMansion in the middle of the place. So we would not want to see that be the result of what this law is going to allow.
Mm-hmm. So in the answers in the supplemental report, you mentioned that there is a regional effort to collect rent data for ADUs, and it's posted already on our website, but I couldn't find it. So maybe if you can send me the link later, I guess we can check it out.
Sure. So it's not posted, but the regional planning collaborative for Santa Clara County did put together a survey that all ADU
the survey is
residents.
posted, not the
Yeah,
data.
so we had the actual survey posted where you can use your QR code to go on your phone, and it's literally 3 or 4 questions and takes about 15 seconds to fill in. I can request what we have to date from the surveys to see. We did get results about 3 or 4 2 months ago that were very basic, and I think we were more comfortable seeing the year's end. And as expected, many of the ADUs are used for family members, whether they're aged or youth going to De Anza College or nearby college that can't afford the rent. So that's how this
So
being used.
if someone is not using the ADU as rental unit, they would not fill out the survey, and we would.
Everyone
not
fills
know.
out the survey. So one of the questions is very open-ended, how are you using this?
Okay.
How much rent are you proposing to charge? And if it's for family, typically, if the answer is the family, the rent is near nothing or zero. So.
Okay, great. Just want to clarify. I think I have been advocating for pre-approved ADU programs since 2-3 years back. So we have right now 4 vendors on our website, but I look at San Jose website, they have a very long list of vendors. So I would like to promote more ADU. I think it's a low density, reasonable way to add units for Cupertino. But I just want to be sure we are setting reasonable standard. And I was looking at the government code that was mentioned by the HCD letter, the section where it says you are not allowed to impose objective standards on ADUs. It's only for the ADUs that already meet requirement 1 to 4. So it's a little confusing. It's not that you are not allowed to impose standard. You are not allowed to impose standards that's not already mentioned for those conditions. So I think we need more clarity on that. Yeah, so anyone would like to make a motion to get us started?
I don't know.
I think you do request to speak. Then, yeah. Councilmember Mohan.
I suggest, Mayor, that we,
Oh,
okay, is this better? I am suggesting that we amend the ordinance in a way that complies with the state ADU law, just because we do have a deadline, and then we, if some of the questions you raised, you feel need to be taken up with HCD, we do it as a separate letter to HCD, asking for clarification. But for current purposes, we should just go ahead and approve, amend the ordinance so that we're in compliance.
Point of clarification, is that a motion to approve the staff recommendation?
are you
Yes.
making a motion?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll second that, provided that we include in the motion the Planning Commission recommendation with regard to building standards that was inadvertently left out. Will you accept that?
Yes, I will.
Okay.
Okay, I see Council Member Wong, and so Council Member Mohan, do you have anything else?
No,
say?
I just
No.
wanted
Okay.
to move
Yeah.
on this.
Then we'll have Council Member Wong and Vice Mayor.
So I know this is required by law. I just, if anything, just want to be clear. I mean, the state continues to erode the American dream of owning a single-family home by attacking these neighborhoods with no regard to fire, safety, parking, traffic, and neighborhood character in an unbridled attempt to build more housing. What have we gotten? If anything, the additional regulations keep adding to the cost of housing and raise the ire of residents. The one-size-fits-all approach to making every neighborhood the same in California is not working. I know we have to do this. I'm not in favor of this. And I hope the public pays attention to how the impact of these laws impact your quality of life and your ability to actually achieve the American dream. This is only going to continue if we don't fight back. And so I really encourage the public to pay more attention to these affairs, and including issues like SB 79. Thank you.
Vice Mayor.
Okay, thank you. So okay, that might be the issue. Okay, so I would like the informational memo. If I need do I need to have a seconder on that? So the informational memo on the data for the use of the ADUs. I'd like to know about it within the city or within the county if we have some of that information. And I don't quite know if the motion is including that when this comes back for second reading that we have the issue of the maximum size of an ADU on a multifamily project, if that's going to come back, because I don't want us to leave that out there that someone could, have a 5,000 square foot ADU on a project. So if that is in your motion, could that be clarified?
My intention was that we approve this before September 30th. And if we didn't get the information that you're looking for by September 30th, it shouldn't hold it up. I'm not saying we don't need the information. We do, but I'm not sure we need it by September 30th.
So, point of clarification, it sounds like Vice Mayor Moore was simply asking that we have some kind of informational memo that explained whether or not a maximum lot coverage, floor area, size standard is actually enforceable for multifamily housing in this update before we get to second reading. And if that's all that the Vice Mayor is asking for, I think that's reasonable, and I'm okay with that.
Through the mayor, so the idea is that not just like an informational memo, but if they do discover that we can put a limit, that is included in the second reading when it comes back, so that we can make that modification. And through the city attorney, we've done this before. We're not setting ourselves back on a first reading at that point, are we, or are we?
I think that's an interesting question, and my expectation is that you would be setting yourself back on a first reading to make that change. But nonetheless, I think that that HCD would be accepting of the fact that we're going through the process, and if we're 2 weeks late or it happens in October, it would be okay.
Okay.
Need a second?
So I think it's a friendly amendment to the existing motion, which maybe just to confirm, Councilmember Mohan, do you accept the friendly amendment?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think Councilmember Fruin already accepted.
Correct.
Yeah. I just want, Councilmember Wang, would you like to add anything?
I'm fine, thank you.
Okay, so I just want to clarify something. So in case we remove the limit of 1,200 square foot, and then we find out we can set a limit later, and we amend it, would we be putting us in legal risk because we relax the standard and we
Tightened.
tightened it? I think HCD doesn't like that.
I think you would be okay doing it that way as well.
We wouldn't be.
Yeah, if I might, the ordinance would not be effective anyway until after the second reading, so you're not really relaxing anything.
If we
until
do
then.
it before the second reading has gone through.
But will it require another reading? Will it set us back if we do make that change?
That was the question that the city attorney was attempting to answer earlier.
Yeah.
I think the offered answer was probably, we're not sure.
Okay.
Exactly.
And then the rent data, I think it's in the process of collecting, so we don't have right now, which is okay, right? Okay, good. So City Clerk, could you repeat the motion?
Yes, Mayor. So the Mohan moved and Fruin seconded to conduct the first reading of ordinance number 25-2274, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Cupertino amending Municipal Code Chapters 19.08, definitions, and 19.112, accessory dwelling units regarding accessory dwelling units, with an amendment provided that to include in the motion the Planning Commission recommendation with regard to building standards, and more made a friendly amendment in addition to requesting an informational memo on the data for the use of the ADUs for information about it within the city or within the county, and a friendly amendment to include that when this item comes back for a second reading, to include the information on the issue of maximum size of an ADU on multifamily project, and that if someone could have, to clarify, if someone could have a 5,000 square foot ADU on a project. Fruin and Mohan accepted the friendly amendment, and that's the motion on the table, Mayor.
Okay, yeah.
Should we vote?
Can I ask one more question about the structural design? The bullet point says regulating ADUs larger than 800 square foot existing language is not objective. So regulating 800 square foot, isn't that objective? Why is that not objective?
Are you asking about? Repeat your question, Mayor. I'm sorry.
Let me share the section that I am. Sorry, it's a screenshot I had. So it's about this structure design part. Let me enlarge that. So this bullet point. So we currently regulate ADUs larger than 800 square foot. It says existing language not objective per HCD standard. So we changed the language to not have that standard?
Yeah, let me clarify. Thank you for the clarification, Mayor. So essentially what we have currently is that for the non-streamlined ADUs, that they have to match the principal dwelling unit. What does that mean, match? Does it mean design? Does it mean colors? So it's not, if I were a resident, I asked that question to staff or everybody else, I can't quantifiably tell them what match means. Whereas if we add those specific zoning districts on there that have some quantifiable features, maybe it's just a few, like the R1E, then those are objective. So roof pitch, very quantifiable, very objective. I can apply that. In the RHS zones, which are the residential hillside zones, we have reflectivity standards for paint. That's an objective standards. So those are certain things that we can apply. What we had before was just kind of a blanket, it has to match. Well, what does that mean to a resident? Has to match.
So in other areas that does not have this kind of standard, but we do have standard, for example, it could be balcony size, those things. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, okay, I think that we should move on. So let's vote.
The motion carries with Wong voting no.
Okay. Now, item 17. It's 907. This is for the oversized parking.
Very good. Madam Clerk, working on the presentation?
Yes, I will share my screen.
I'm just going to take this off. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm a little under the weather today, so forgive me if my voice goes hoarse, but it sounds like it's working right now. So today we are looking at the first reading of the oversized vehicle parking ordinance. This item, for background, was considered by the Planning Commission on April 22nd and June 24th. And then it came to the City Council on July 15th, where the council conducted an in-depth study and reviewed the Planning Commission's recommendations, and the council provided specific direction to staff, which staff has attempted to bring back now in the way that the council described it. Just quickly to recap, the current practice in the city is that no vehicle can park for longer than 72 hours on a city street. Enforcement is complaint driven, meaning that when it appears that somebody has been parking for longer than 72 hours, they call in a complaint, and then staff goes and checks on the vehicle, marks the tire, goes back 72 hours later, and if the car is still there or the vehicle is still there, then we have a violation. Vehicles need to move only a few inches to avoid citation. The issue with the current ordinance is that it does allow vehicles to basically park substantially in the same location indefinitely, day and night. And so that's especially difficult when we have oversized vehicles that people are often living in. The city finds itself in the situation where certain areas have become an attraction for oversized vehicles, where people are basically living on city streets indefinitely. This creates a nuisance. It impacts residents and businesses. It fails to prevent individuals from living in vehicles, which is currently prohibited under our current municipal code. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Again, I kind of moved through a few of those quickly. Okay, here we go. So the council asked us to bring back an ordinance that would do the following. It would prohibit oversized vehicles from parking at night citywide from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. It defined oversized vehicles, as you see on the screen. That definition of oversized vehicles would include trailers, boats, and other loads, but it would not include even our largest pickup trucks or Tesla Cybertrucks, etc. So this, next slide, please. So this restriction applies to everyone in the city, including households, to ensure that households are not impacted. Households that have oversized vehicles, households that have RVs or other recreational vehicles that would fall under the definition of an oversized vehicle, to make sure that those households aren't prohibited from ever parking their vehicles on streets at night. The ordinance allows households to receive up to 20 free permits annually. Each permit would allow the resident to park their vehicle, their oversized vehicle, for 72 hours. After 72 hours, the vehicle would have to be removed or moved 1,500 feet away and stay away for 72 hours. Because the ordinance provides residents with the ability to obtain these permits using the city's website, and that they receive 20 of them in a year's time, residents remain largely unaffected by the new ordinance. Next slide, please. The new ordinance also assists in prohibits the renting or loaning of vehicles for habitation. As I said, our current ordinance does not allow people to live or sleep in their vehicles on public streets. This additional restriction prohibits people who have oversized vehicles from renting them out to be used as living quarters in the city. Next slide, please. So the municipal code would update the sections listed on the screen. Next slide, please. So the recommended action today is to conduct a first reading of this ordinance and to approve the new program. There are certain programmatic features that are not included in the ordinance, but were also included in the recommendation that we are asking, the action that we're asking. One is to enable online resident permit applications, as I mentioned. Another is to approve $10,000 for signage to be installed at specifically impacted areas. This would be the area near the Target store. We're also asking that the city approve $25,000 for the creation of signs for city entrances. Those signs would allow us to, if we put the signs at city entrances, it allows us to immediately enforce the new ordinance throughout the city. And then we are also asking the council to direct staff to report back on the impacts of the new ordinance 1 year post-implementation. Next slide, please. The fiscal impact of this is approximately $51,000. That includes the signage for the entrances, the signage for the specific area that we have identified we need to address immediately near Target. It also addresses the creation of the online permit system in our Public Works Department, and it covers what we expect to be the cost to issue permits for a year's time. Next slide, please. During the conversation, other options for managing oversized vehicle parking and people living in their vehicles on city streets were considered. briefly considered. One was a program that San Jose has put in place called the Olive Program, and that program specifically targets areas, problem areas in that city. They consider them designated high impact areas, and they create tow-away zones and they phase in enforcement. So they're basically focusing on areas where they have problems and then attempting to correct the problem in that area and then focus on the next area that might have problems. I think the council at the time considered this, generally considered this, and determined that the consequence of having the vehicles in problem areas move just to a new location to be dealt with again and again and again was not as beneficial as coming up with a citywide program like the one that we are presenting tonight. And that is my presentation. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Okay, thank you, City Attorney. Any council member has questions? Council Member Wong.
Yeah, give me a second here. I wanted to thank the interim city attorney and the teams who worked on this ordinance. I think 22 feet is just enough to park an F-350 truck, in case you have one, so it won't impact folks. I do have a question for section 11.27.050. Can we add something that says that the RV permits can only be applied to vehicle registered to that address by the DMV, and also that these permits cannot be resold? That's the only loophole I see here. Is there any legal implications by doing something like that?
It might add logistical complications in terms of management.
For enforcement?
And yeah.
I think in addition, we may inadvertently limit if, let's say, a resident has a guest.
Okay.
So that might be something to consider.
All right, thank you. Roll back my clock.
Regarding enforcement overnight, I think we don't have code enforcement officer working at night.
We did interface with the sheriff's office, and the sheriff agreed to implement the program for us during nighttime hours.
So I'm wondering, is it possible that the city can install cameras that have more cameras that's portable, can be tied to a light pole of potential areas, and the footage from the camera timestamped that could be used as code enforcement evidence to issue ticket?
I think that's something that, especially after we come back. I think that's something, especially after we come back after a year's time, if it looks like we're, not addressing the problem, then, and we need to come up with new methods for enforcement, that could be something that over the next year we could be considering. I can imagine that the cameras could be expensive, and we would need to interface with law enforcement to understand.
Is very low cost right now, right? And then compared with manpower having to mark the vehicle.
We don't have to mark the vehicles anymore. If they're parked overnight, they're violating.
That's true. So, that's just, it might be something the staff can take a look in the meantime.
Yes.
That would help with, help reduce the workload for staff.
Thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Mohan.
My first question was quite simple. How does one know where the 1,500 feet marker is?
It's generally about a block, but I understand what you're saying. The enforcement mechanism, the police would understand what 1,500 feet is.
But what about owners of the vehicles?
I think they would need to, assume that they need to go a few blocks.
Okay. And my other question was for the staff. Are you able to enforce this with existing resources? Is that the plan for the first year?
Yeah, that's a good question, Councilmember. And since we have not implemented, it's hard to estimate right now. But I imagine there will be increased enforcement, especially for getting tickets and requests, 311 requests, for example, from the residents wanting to notify the city. So the intent is for us to see what that might look like, and then we will come back to council if there's additional resources needed. But enforcement is something that we haven't yet experienced with this new program. Does that answer your question?
Yes. No, I understand this is sort of a pilot program for the first year. In the meantime, though, could we sort of get into some details about what is it that drives these people to park at this particular location? It's mostly Alvis and the Target area. And I don't think any work has been done in terms of who are these people and what motivates them to park here. And is that something that it sounds reasonable to do in this 1 year?
Yeah, that's a good point, right? Like that's something that we've had anecdotal information about, who's parking the RVs, but this is something that we can look into and potentially even work with our existing partners for outreach, and if it's specifically enforcement with the sheriff's office and then whatever code enforcement staff. But these are all of the conversations that we will have in the coming weeks.
Okay, and presumably we'll get quarterly updates or on the number of permits that we issued.
We can provide that as an information memo every quarter if council's interested, or if any other cadence or method, let us know. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. My understanding is right now we don't have information on the RV trailers because of privacy reasons. We can't even ask them why they are here. But then with this program during the implementation, supposedly we will have contact with them and gather more data.
I think, Mayor, having an outreach component to this program would be helpful for staff as well. We do have existing partners, so if that's of interest, and I think that would help staff, we should definitely consider that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Councilmember Fruin.
Just to pick up on where the mayor left off there, it seems to me like the obvious outreach partner that the city would have there is West Valley Community Services. Is there something in their existing contract work with the city that could be leveraged, or would we need to provide them with new resources?
I will have to look into, I know we have an existing contract. I don't know what the status of that is, or the scope right now.
My understanding as well of the implementation timeline for this is that you would need additional budget from us, and that would come back to us at the next budget review. Is that correct?
That's correct. Even some of the budget numbers that are included in this report that Floyd presented, if council approves that, then we will go back, and come back in Q1 for those budget asks, including if there's any other additional resources. So that will be up to council to approve at that time.
Got it. So this isn't an instantaneous thing. It's not like we pass this today, we get to second reading, and then all of a sudden nobody's there.
That's what we want to try to see how this works, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. To the city attorney, I'm grateful that you included the provisions on van lording, but I did want to confirm that at Division B, which regulates the type of person who's engaged in the activity, that's only regulating the individual who is offering the RV for rent and not the person who is choosing to rent.
That is the intent.
Okay, all right. I just wanted to clarify that and make sure that it's somebody who's engaging in essentially unjust enrichment on public land and not the person who's just out of luck and trying to find a way to get by. In the course of our outreach as well, if we could maybe partner with our school districts to find out whether there are any school-age children who are housed in these vehicles, I think that would be appreciated. I know that the high school district did a recent survey to figure out how many unhoused students they have. It's a relatively small number, but some of them do go to Homestead, some of them do go to CHS, and depending upon where the registered permanent address is for them, they could be folks who are living in these RVs, and I want to make sure that we're not disturbing them. Or at least have a mechanism for addressing the future for them. Have we given any thought to a safe park program for RVs along the lines of our safe park program that we do on a rotating basis with nonprofits in the city?
We've talked to various people who provide safe parking, and none of them provide parking for RVs.
Yeah, at present, sure. But have any of them been open to the notion of potentially allowing RVs?
Based on my conversations with my associate who did that research, they weren't open because of the issues that they experience when they allow RVs to park in those places.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. I want to say, yeah, I think I'll reserve that maybe for the comment later. Right now it's question. So any other question? Otherwise we go to public comment. No questions? Let's go to public comment.
Yes, Mayor, I see one request to speak virtually. San Rao. Welcome, San.
Yes, hopefully you can hear me, Mayor Chow and council members.
Yes.
I just want to encourage you to not let perfect be the enemy of good. And first of all, you have heard numerous times from residents on this topic, and I think the average resident just want to see our streets free of all of this clutter. You cannot really walk around that neighborhood. It is unsafe to walk. There are no space for bikes. I find it ironical that the same people that support all of the bike lanes on Stevens Creek won't bring up the inability to bike on Albus, and instead are concerned about whether this can be enforced. It's not like anything else can be enforced, but we have a Mooney Code today. Should we just get rid of the Mooney Code because we can't enforce it? I think residents need to take note of where their council members stand on these issues. The average resident wants our streets cleared of this, and every other city has done it. San Jose, Milpitas, Fremont, you can go down the list. San Francisco, you can just go through this whole list. And it is not just residents, but on this issue, we have businesses asking for the same thing. It's not often that our commercial and residential stakeholders are on the same page on an issue. And you have the Chamber of Commerce writing in, you have the ALOF writing in, you have the Happy Days writing in. And I've personally door knocked at commercial tenants in the marina, and they would love to see this cleared. And so please don't let perfection be the enemy of the good, and please be conscious of the load you place on staff. We have an interim city manager who's amenable, does not mean we keep placing additional load on staff. So I urge you to just adopt this and vote today and accept it. In fact, it went to Planning Commission, and in hindsight, the Planning Commission recommendation was not accepted, which meant it really should have gone to City Council in April. By now, we would have cleared the streets. So I urge you to please expedite accepting this and let council members point out the clear and stark difference between your positions. What I'm hearing on the dais is incumbents that are going to run next year are not on the same side as residents on this matter. They want to take the side of these RV owners. And it doesn't matter why they're there, and you don't need to do outreach to these. You have an obligation to residents, not to these RV owners. So let's get them off the streets. Please vote today. Thank you.
Thank you, San. Mayor, no additional requests to speak on this item.
Okay, thank you. So I'll make that comment. So I think I'm sympathetic to the RV dwellers because we do have high housing costs. Some of them, we don't know who are these people. I'm guessing some of them may even have home, but they are far away. But maybe they use RV during the work day because they work in the area. So likely these people are working, and this RV is just a more economical housing solution. However, that said, that does not mean they have a right to occupy our public street 24/7 for free, without any obligation. Then that's wrong also. So I'm sympathetic to their choices, but some of the RVs are pretty luxurious. So they might not even be qualified to be client of West Valley Community Services. But we do need to find a solution. So hopefully through this process, let's get it implemented. We'll find out more about what kind of needs are there and how we might address those needs in terms of RV parking. And also, we are not a city that stands alone. We are part of Santa Clara County, and they get 34% of our property tax when the city only gets 7%. So any facility that's available in the county should also be made available and aware for residents or RV dwellers who might work in Cupertino. So I think we need to remember that we have other resources that we can help people to reach out to. Thank you. May I have a motion for?
I'd like to make a motion.
Okay.
But before I do, I just want to say we are the last of many cities to do this. I think people have mentioned San Francisco, San Jose, Oakland, Contra Costa County, Marin County, Richmond, Milpitas, Fremont, Antioch, Mountain View. I mean, everyone has done this. We've waited too long. And I do agree with your sympathetic points there, but I would like to make a motion that we conduct the first reading of Ordinance 25-2275, request staff to report back to council 1 year post-implementation regarding impacts of new rules and possible suggested revisions. 3, request staff to install oversized vehicle parking restriction signage as mentioned on Banley, Alves, Sake, adjacent to the local Target store, and approving funding of $10,000 for such signage. 4, request staff to update the city website to allow residents to obtain parking permits for their oversized vehicles online. And 5, approve an additional $25,000 for signage at city entrance points in the gateways. Staff will deploy the funds and install such signs once it determines that the new ordinance is workable and effective. And the last one, find that the proposed actions are exempt from CEQA.
Any second?
More second.
Okay, Councilmember Fruin.
Yeah, the only thing that I would ask that we do in addition to this, since no city is doing this particularly well, and it's a challenge everywhere, is that as part of the motion that we direct staff to come back to us with an outreach plan so that we can help connect folks with services to the extent that they're willing to use them.
I'm willing to take that friendly amendment.
Thank you.
More accept.
Okay, anything else anyone would like to add? Okay, so let's vote.
The motion as amended carries unanimously.
It's 9:34. Anyone needs a break?
I'd like a 5-minute break.
Yeah, so let's have a 5-minute break. We'll come back at 9:40. 10:18. Finally, we are getting to the Stevens Creek Boulevard Beijing study, the actual study. Yeah. So, interim city manager, yeah.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, as you mentioned, that this item was continued in July, and just want to mention staff had asked for council input ahead of time. If anybody wanted to provide any comments to staff to consider, and also to help with the deliberation and discussion. We did receive a couple of drafts, Mayor, from you and from Vice Mayor. And if council wishes, we can, if we want to take one of those as a base or a draft, if council, all of you are amenable to that, we can work off of that, or council can suggest your comments and suggestions individually. We can work with either that council's okay with.
Okay. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and members of council. I'm Chad Mosley, Director of Public Works, and I have the privilege tonight of having, I am trying, and I can get closer. Is that working? No, it's going to go wonky on me, but good evening. I'm Chad Mosley, Director of Public Works. I have the privilege tonight of having David Stillman, Transportation Manager, here with me, as well as Matt Schrader, our Senior Transportation Planner. They'll be presenting the study before you, and we'll be here afterwards to help answer any questions you may have. Thank you. Take it away.
Is this on? Yes. Okay. So, good evening, Council and Mayor Chow. My name is Matt Schrader, as Chad mentioned, Senior Transportation Planner for the city. Going to be presenting the Stevens Creek Boulevard Corridor Vision Study, which is a multi-agency transportation planning study. So before we begin, just want to give you some brief background on how we got to where we're at today. It really started in 2017 when staff from the corridor agencies began to meet semi-regularly just to discuss how they could enhance the corridor and talk about regional issues. That working group was then formalized in 2019 when council adopted the resolution supporting Cupertino's participation in a project to study the corridor. That project is this project, and it started in 2022. Cupertino's participation in the study was explicitly directed by the council adopted resolution, which stated that Cupertino would support a complete street study and also continue the conversation about potential high capacity transit so long as it followed these requirements, that it be grade separated and time competitive with the automobile, not use general purpose lanes or negatively impact traffic, and also consider an alternate alignment along I-280. Some brief context on the project location. The project area spans 9 miles and crosses Cupertino, Santa Clara, San Jose, and county right-of-way. And the center line for the boulevard designates the right-of-way in many areas, most notably between Winchester Boulevard and Lawrence Expressway. And then kind of adding to the complexity of the project area is the fact that the roadway's width and lane configuration vary in different sections. As you can see from this graphic, some sections have bike lanes, some have on-street parking in bike lanes, and some sections have no bike lanes at all. And then lastly, as it relates to the project location, I think it's just helpful to note the importance of the corridor as it includes key destinations like Diridon Station, De Anza College, and Valley Fair. So now for the project itself. The project was driven at a high level by a steering committee comprised of elected officials from each project agency. The steering committee also decided to establish a community advisory group, which was made up of neighborhood representatives from various parts of the corridor. And then public engagement was constant throughout the project. So the CAG and the public really worked in tandem to refine the recommendations that were eventually approved by the steering committee. The project consisted of 3 primary phases, the first of which was identifying what the needs are, listening to key issues in the corridor, then coming up with a vision for what the future of the corridor should look like, and then developing project recommendations that could be implemented to achieve that community vision. And as I mentioned a little bit earlier, outreach was constant throughout the project. Each jurisdiction was provided with an equivalent amount of outreach that included sit-downs with specific groups and steering committee meetings that were hosted in each jurisdiction. So in addition to what you saw on the previous slide, and in addition to the online webinars and open public meetings, Cupertino residents were directly engaged in these ways, with the De Anza Farmers Market and Flea Market being key touch points for the outreach team, which is where that image was taken from. So kind of discussing phase one, the needs assessment phase. During this phase, various outreach methods were used to identify community needs and key issues. And this graphic was developed after summarizing those different community input methods, just to visualize the level of comfort and convenience for different transportation modes across the corridor. And again, the image in the lower right is of outreach that was performed at De Anza Farmers Market, which informed this graphic. So kind of the outcomes from each phase inform the subsequent phase. In phase one, as I mentioned, the community identified those issues. That led to the development of general concepts for a vision. And then from there, individual project recommendations were developed. And those were projects that had been previously identified in existing agency plans. Then moving into phase two, the vision. The vision statement was a bit of an iterative process that took a couple months to develop. It's comprised of two parts, and the first is here, which is a general statement that the corridor agencies should strive to create a corridor that is safe and enjoyable for people of all ages and abilities and all transportation modes. And then the second part of the vision goes into detail about the elements that could be implemented to achieve that broader vision. This includes an emphasis on transit, the need to be pedestrian and bike friendly, and also consider the need for efficient automobile travel. Following the vision, we now get to the projects. So to realize this vision, like I mentioned, the community looked at those existing agency plan projects, which could be advanced that, really to help create the corridor that they had described in that vision statement. And then these community selected projects were then categorized into 3 timeframes. This was originally called an implementation plan, but should really be thought of as a recommendation plan, which is why at the final steering committee meeting in December, the steering committee renamed this chapter of the report from implementation to recommendation. Now getting into the projects themselves. The near-term projects, there's really 3 buckets of projects, the first of which is a package of programs that can really be thought of as placemaking to make the corridor a more enjoyable space to experience, which is one of the primary goals of the vision statement. This includes things like consistent signage and some sort of coordinated maintenance program. The next bucket of near-term projects relates to the transit-first vision for the corridor, and it includes projects that would be led by VTA with ongoing coordination and approval from each of the project agencies. All of the recommended projects are policy-oriented and emphasize the need for kind of corridor-wide coordination just to optimize existing transit service along the corridor. And then consistent with the community vision of a multimodal corridor, various bike and ped projects were also identified, as well as the need to add shade trees across the corridor. And as you can see from this image, and probably know from your own experience, Cupertino has great trees that line the segment of the corridor in the city. Moving on to the next category, that's the midterm or the 10-year projects, and these are intersection and crossing improvement projects at key locations. And during some of the outreach, there was a biking tour of the corridor, and participants that attended that went over and visited the McClellan-De Anza intersection and remarked that this is exactly the type of protection that they would like to see be implemented along Stevens Creek. And then finally, we have the long-term project. It's a single project in this category, and it's to continue conversations about the potential for grade-separated high-capacity transit. And the timeline that's provided on this slide comes from VTA estimates that are based on the East Ridge Light Rail Extension project. So, as I mentioned previously, at the final steering committee meeting, the committee did a couple of things. It approved the plan and also amended the plan, changing the name from implementation to recommendation, and then it also kicked it back to each jurisdiction so that each agency could review it within a local context. What that then meant for Cupertino is the item went before the BPC in April, and the BPC passed a motion recommending that the council accept the study with the qualification that is made clear that the city maintains final decision-making authority over the projects in the city, and it also reaffirmed the city's commitment to the study under the 2019 resolution. So following the BPC meeting, the study then went before the Planning Commission in May, and the commission also recommended that the City Council accept the study, however, with some additional qualifications, that the city prioritize investments in maintenance and safety by focusing on modern technologies like adaptive traffic signalization and active pedestrian detection. The commission also recommended prioritizing cost savings by reducing the project limits and study of transit alternatives to grade separated. And then lastly, the commission emphasized the need to focus investments in nearby bike and ped connections to the corridor, connections like the Lawrence Mitty Trail or Tammy and Innu. So the study has made its way through each jurisdiction's approval process with all agencies accepting the study. And the steering committee is working toward a fall meeting date just to give the staff working group direction on how to proceed. And finally, I just want to end by kind of emphasizing what was said at the BPC, where if the city accepts the plan, that really in no way constitutes the city's approval of all the projects in the plan, and each and every one of those projects is still at the discretion of each participating jurisdiction. So with that, the recommended action for tonight is for council to adopt the resolution accepting the Stevens Creek Boulevard Corridor Vision Study, including the additional qualifications recommended by the Cupertino Bicycle Pedestrian Commission and Planning Commission, and directing staff to work through the multi-jurisdictional working group and steering committee to further assess the study's recommendations and opportunities for implementation.
Okay. Thank you. Now, any council member have questions? Okay, so council member Fruin.
This is a hopefully quick point of clarification. Out of the Planning Commission, there is a very specific recommendation with regard to where they would like to see the study area terminate. But I'm a little confused by it because it seems like City Council in 2022 fought to extend the study area all the way to Foothill and voted unanimously to do that. Can you elaborate a little bit on that history?
Good evening, Mayor Chow, members of the City Council, Councilmember Fruin. Yes, that's correct. Back in February of 2022, when the City Council was considering the project and looking to agree to fund the Cupertino's fair share of the study, There was, during the discussion of the motion, there was a friendly amendment by Councilmember Way to extend the limits of the study from De Anza College out to Foothill, and that friendly amendment was incorporated into the final motion and voted unanimously by the City Council.
Okay. And by virtue of extending the study area all the way out there, that doesn't necessarily mean that we get high capacity transit by 2045 all the way to Foothill Expressway. This is the study area, yes?
That's correct.
Okay, so there could be other improvements and so forth that enhance connectivity all the way that far west that we might be able to get improved grant eligibility for by virtue of this being in the study area. Is that an accurate statement?
Yes, that's accurate.
Okay, all right, thanks.
So I was on the December 18th meeting for the steering committee, and I hadn't been on for a couple of years. Now, when we were looking at Cupertino to have transit, the request was that it would be underground. And I don't know if that was given a cost estimate in the draft vision study. And I am curious about why MTC's Plan Bay Area 2050 Plus already has light rail indicated at $2.83 billion going throughout this entire stretch.
Yes, the plan did include an estimate for underground transit, including the development of 8 stations. So that figure is in the plan. And then the Plan Bay Area project was included as part of the RTP back in, before the project was initiated. There were discussions to have the project included into the regional transportation plan. And I believe we have some background information on that.
Okay, and for the Cupertino segment, or is it the entire segment that would be underground? So they're saying 2.8 million to go 9 miles underground, 2.8 billion, I should say, when BART extension is shorter and even more expensive. What are they at? 12, 14 billion right now? Is that about right? So do you believe this 2.8 billion number?
No, I'm not sure on the methodology that Iteris used, both with respect to the ridership estimates and the cost projections. So a much more detailed study would be required for any kind of project of this magnitude.
Thank you. Okay, so looking at the estimated daily ridership, I'm glad somebody else has flagged that, because at 20,000, that's around what the entire light rail they're hoping to get for ridership for every stretch altogether. And I have some presentation materials I'll provide later. One thing that surprised me is how this project kind of came to be discussed. And it seemed like it kind of bubbled up around 2017, 2018. But in researching VTA, I'm unable to locate them providing a regional needs assessment and a cost-benefit analysis. And when I look at these numbers and we're questioning whether their ridership is accurate, and the cost estimate, that the accuracy there, we can't really make a ballpark judgment on the necessity for this. Also, having served on VTA's Policy Advisory Committee I'm on my 3rd year, they don't provide us with basic traffic data. So unless you've seen the average daily traffic for numbers of these, like Lawrence Expressway versus De Anza versus Stevens Creek Boulevard, and then you have the land use changes over time, where going from, say, NVIDIA across that northern tier of the county over to Google, that is where the bulk of the development appears to be happening, such that the north-south tiers, our north-south corridors, are getting heavily impacted. So have you seen traffic counts, just something simple like average daily traffic counts for these north-south routes, and something showing the land use changes over time where things are developing? So, Cupertino had Apple happen several years ago, but there's nothing like that. Whereas NVIDIA's opened up, and as you move across that area of the county, it's increased a great deal, both in terms of housing and jobs. So is there some source of this other information that I'd be, I was hunting all day, again today, looking for some land use information for where things are developing, because I can visually see where the changes are happening. But I don't have the actual data, and I think VTA should be providing that.
Councilmember Moore, are you inquiring whether or not that information was evaluated or included as part of the corridor vision study, or if that information is just available in general?
I think both, because we're going to an awful lot of effort for something that might not, in real simple terms, be the squeaky wheel in the county. That really needs some help. So if you've tried to go up Lawrence Expressway at 9 o'clock, 8:45, it's packed. And likewise, De Anza has, I mentioned this earlier, De Anza has much heavier traffic than Stevens Creek Boulevard. And yet, when we were looking at the ADUs, because of the bus lines, it's impacting development where those bus lines have been placed. So yes, so it's for both.
Yeah, so that level of detail was not included in the scope of the corridor vision study. It was focused predominantly on the corridor itself, with realization that connections to the corridor would need to be evaluated and improved in order to improve the experience of the corridor itself. But there was not a detailed look at traffic volumes or operations or land use within the nearby vicinity of the Stevens Street corridor.
Okay. So that's kind of surprising to me, because VTA is the congestion management agency for the county, and I would think that they would be providing that kind of information before they let a couple of cities start planning something that's going to be costing in the billions of dollars without a clear directive and clear data that it makes sense.
So that level of analysis would occur as part of a feasibility study. That would be an initial step if the cities were to want to move forward with a transit option on the corridor. So that would be beyond the scope of this initial vision that was put together, but that would be the first step before a large amount of money would be put into a transit project.
Again, it does not make sense to just study Stevens Creek Boulevard for that feasibility and not look at the county holistically. And that's, my concern about what they're doing. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so thank you for the presentation, and then the draft resolution. I think I share a similar concern. As a city, we don't just have one corridor. I think we have already adopted the net zero, Vision Zero plan, and the local road safety plan. Those are citywide effort, and we have our bicycle pedestrian plan. and we are already make great stride thanks to the city staff's leadership in improving safety for Cupertino as a whole. So my question would be, by accepting this study, are we going to divert funding? Because I think from the San Jose website, for the purpose of study is to make funding recommendation. So by accepting this kind of study, does that mean we are sending a signal to VTA MTC that we would prioritize Stevens Creek over any other corridor in Cupertino? Because the funding, as we know, is limited. So are we making that suggestion to them?
No, we are not saying that Stevens Creek will be prioritized over all other city roadways. This is just saying that the city agrees and understands that the corridor is of regional significance and requires Cupertino, Santa Clara, San Jose staff and county staff to work together to figure out how to have a coordinated approach in improving the corridor.
But I think I read somewhere that accepting the study means the city will advocate for funding for this particular corridor over other priorities.
We would have to hear what comes out of the steering committee meeting, and then from that come back to the council, and council can make a judgment on whether or not they want to continue to participate. At this time, accepting the study just allows the city to continue to have conversations with these partner agencies.
If the steering committee is solely focused on this one corridor without looking at the city as a whole, their recommendation would be not well informed by all the other safety factors that we need to face. For example, the more congested Lawrence Express, De Anza College, and De Anza Boulevard. I think overall, a lot of our citizens do go north to Palo Alto, Menlo Park, or Santa Clara for jobs. Our job is not all in San Jose downtown. So by making that assumption, we would be affecting the funding choice recommendations for others, for MTC and the VTA. It seems we don't have data to even say this corridor should be high priority. We did this study because San Jose wants it, because they want to be the center.
So
Right,
this by accepting the study, this just gives us a seat at the table for when discussions might occur among all the jurisdictions about the future of Stevens Creek Boulevard. It doesn't obligate the city to continue to participate or to devote any resources, nor does it imply that we will prioritize improvements on Stevens Creek corridor over other arterials within Cupertino that might need to be improved or reviewed. It just allows us to have that seat at the table so that if improvements are advanced by other jurisdictions, we can choose to participate and be part of that discussion. But there's no obligation implied with our accepting of the study.
Okay. Any other questions? Questions, or we? Okay, let's do public comment.
Yes, Mayor, I have 7 requests to speak from in Community Hall. I see 4 requests to speak virtually.
Yeah. Before the public comment, I would like to make, I think we received some emails which somehow sends a message this study is about safety. Somehow Cupertino is in danger of not being safe for our residents. I don't know who sends that message around, because Cupertino, among the 3 cities, we have implemented, I think our city staff and our Backpack Commission have led the charge of making the Stevens Creek section of in Cupertino more walkable, bikeable than the other cities. We don't have even parking along Stevens Creek. So I want to make that very clear. This particular vision study is meant to study transit corridors, and it's not really just about safety, because as a city, we need to study safety citywide, not just one corridor. Thank you.
So, Mayor, we are now at 8 requests to speak virtually, so that would bring us to 45 minutes, including the 7 in Community Hall.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Okay, we have Jennifer Griffin, followed by Elise Lester, followed by Beck Poltranetti.
Oh, wait, how many? So Councilmember Mohan is suggesting, should we limit to 2 minutes? How many we have?
We have 15 requests to speak in total, 45 minutes.
Oh, that's a good idea. So maybe 90 seconds, 1.5 minutes on.
Okay?
Yeah. Okay.
So 90 seconds is the time limit now,
90
Jennifer?
seconds?
90 seconds, so 1 minute and a half.
Yeah, it's already 10:12.
Okay,
so,
if I
yeah.
have trouble with this, can you set the time back?
Yes.
Okay, can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I will tell you, I have lived next to Stevens Creek Boulevard since last century. I don't even want to go. It's above 35 years. Okay, I'm embarrassed. And I'm very, very concerned when anything comes up that affects Stevens Creek Boulevard, because we live there. SB 79 is trying to take resources and build 8-story buildings behind my house. Now we have a study that appears to be trying to put in BRT and take away a lane on Stevens Creek Boulevard. We're constantly fighting over resources. So I went to all the meetings. I saw some fascinating things. I will tell you, I do not understand why there is an obsession with De Anza College. It is a junior college. San Jose has a lovely 4-year and master's level university on San Carlos. I have 27 seconds. Oh my Lord. Okay, they completely ignored that. Diridon is, my nephew lived there 5 years. Diridon isn't even on the corridor. I don't get it. I do not want BRT on that road with one lane taken over. If you're going to involve Foothill Boulevard and Foothill Expressway, you pull Los Altos in. They weren't even involved. This thing is a shame.
Thank you, Jennifer. That is your time. And now we will move to Elise Lester, followed by Beck Poltranetti. Welcome, Elise.
Good evening, Mayor Chow, Vice Mayor Moore, and council members. My name is Elise Lester, and I'm here speaking on behalf of Councilmember Rosemary Kamei. Councilmember Rosemary Kamei, alongside Vice Mayor Cox of Santa Clara, have additionally submitted letters of support for Cupertino's acceptance of the Stevens Creek Boulevard Corridor Vision Study, and I draw your attention to both letters if you have not yet seen them. Stevens Creek Boulevard is a critical east-west corridor connecting multiple communities, supporting local businesses, and serving thousands of daily commuters. Because the corridor spans multiple jurisdictions, strong regional coordination is essential. No single city can fully address the opportunities or challenges here alone. We see that the proposed resolutions submitted by Vice Mayor Moore and Mayor Chow include cost considerations and other caveats to the staff written resolution, and we understand the cost considerations embedded in Vice Mayor Moore's draft resolution. The staff prepared resolution, which affirms the adoption of the vision study rather than recognizing it, does not obligate the city of Cupertino to any funding or project implementation. We acknowledge the considerations the Vice Mayor raises in her alternative resolution, which no doubt will be the basis for conversations for the steering committee as it resumes its work. With that, we encourage the council to support the staff resolution as written. Doing so ensures Cupertino's participation in this regional planning effort effort while maintaining flexibility on costs, prioritization, and local investments. Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you. That is time. Next, we have Beck Poltronetti, followed by Nathan Schober, followed by Alex Richardson. Welcome, Beck.
Hello, everyone. My name is Beck Poltronetti, Cupertino resident, member of Walk Bike Roll, California. I'm going to make this very direct. Council members, please vote to accept the Stevens Creek Boulevard Corridor Vision Study. The other major participants, San Jose, Santa Clara County VTA, have all voted to accept the results of the study. Both commissions unanimously recommend the city adopt the resolution. Cupertino has already affirmed support for the project in multiple past resolutions. The other major participants have already signed off, and Cupertino did in the past, so why can't Cupertino sign off now? What's the downside to accepting information? I know budgets are always tight, but in this case, the city isn't actually committing to anything and could pursue implementation of the study at its own pace as time and resources allow. What's more, accepting the study would actually increase funding available to the city through an increased opportunity for grants. Council members, as a citizen of Cupertino, I request that you do not make Cupertino the city that ruins the study for every other participant. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Beck. Next, we have Nathan Schuber, followed by Alex Richardson, followed by requester did not leave a name, but it is about topic 18. Item 18, welcome Nathan.
Hello? Yes. Hello, my name is Nathan, and I am part of the Monte Vista class of 2023. I just want to share with you my personal experience being a bike rider who commuted to Monte Vista for all my time at school. I just wanted to share with you that there were multiple times close calls of almost being hit, and this typically happened in areas by intersections and roads with no dedicated bike lanes. I knew that every day that I biked to school, I was exposed to real danger that could have left me permanently disabled or dead. I know that if there was infrastructure to protect bike riders, I would have felt safe going to school. I really look forward to the City of Cupertino's commitment to protecting everyone on the road and their commitment to transit and transportation that will help everyone stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Nathan. Next, we have Alex Richardson, followed by Harry Neal. Welcome, Alex.
Thank you, City Council, Mayor. I'm Alex, and I am a near lifetime resident of Cupertino. I work at NVIDIA, so I know what you're talking about with the north to south traffic, and I will say I'm really passionate about biking to work. But right now, Stevens Creek is my issue because when I go north, I go on the San Tomas Trail, and it's easy for me to bike. It's clearly separated from the road, and I feel safe. But getting there is the dangerous part, and it prevents me from biking more than once a week. I would love to bike every day, and that's what I hope a study like this can help me do. Make me feel safe, make me feel like part of a community. When I walk around Stevens Creek and Cupertino, yes, it is maybe better than the other cities, but I still feel scared crossing a 7-lane road with no break in the middle. I mountain bike. I do crazy things, and I still feel uncomfortable doing that. And I don't see other people walking on the sidewalk, and I feel more isolated. I want, Cupertino to be, a place where I feel all my fellow citizens and feel a part of something greater. So please help us do that. Please help us connect to the other cities and be a part of a great South Bay. Thank you. I know that y'all are leaders in this.
Thank you. And next we have Harry Neal. Welcome, Harry.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Harry Neal. I'm a local transit advocate, member of VTA's Citizens Advisory Committee, and an organizer with Transbay Coalition, but I'm speaking here for Transbay specifically. You have in front of you a copy of the petition that I ran a campaign for and the coalition letter in favor of the acceptance of the Stevens Creek Vision Study. Stevens Creek Boulevard is one of Santa Clara County's most important corridors. Not only a major road, but also a place for people to live, work, shop, study, play, and worship. All residents, young or old, drivers or pedestrians, transit riders or cyclists, rich or poor, deserve a corridor that works for them. The Stevens Creek Corridor Steering Committee unanimously approved a recommended plan that would transform Stevens Creek to support the safe, efficient, sustainable mobility that all users deserve. The undersigned urge the County of Santa Clara, VTA, the cities of Cupertino, Santa Clara, and San Jose to approve and implement the Stevens Creek Corridor Steering Committee's recommended plan. Some of the sign-ons include Friends of Caltrain, Catalyze Silicon Valley, Assembly members Ash Kalra, Mark Berman, and Patrick Ahrens, Surge, Santa Clara County, VITA at De Anza, the De Anza College Zero Waste Club, Santa Clara County for Transit, Dr. Omar Torres, president of De Anza College, and many, many more. Please vote in favor and listen to our community. Thank you.
Thank you. And one more call for a person that requested to speak on this item, but they did not leave their name. So if you submitted a request, welcome.
Hello, my name is Emily Chang, and I'm here on behalf of the Zero Waste Club at De Anza. As a De Anza student who drives along Stevens Creek Boulevard almost every day, I implore the city of Cupertino to please consider the plan to increase safety, efficiency, and sustainability on Stevens Creek corridor. The Stevens Creek Vision Studies plan can only benefit and ensure that I am even safer as a driver and pedestrian in Cupertino, as well as my peers who take the bus and drive. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. And now we will move to those members of the public requesting to speak virtually. We have Amanda Flores, followed by Betsy Megas, followed by San Rao. Welcome, Amanda.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. My name is Amanda Flores, and I'm the community organizer at West Valley Community Services, located off Stevens Creek Boulevard on Vista Drive. Everyday people, including seniors and families experiencing housing and food insecurity, walk, bike, or use mobility devices to reach our services. Right now, the design of Stevens Creek puts them at risk. The Stevens Creek Vision Study offers proven solutions like protected bike lanes, safer crosswalks, and pedestrian islands that improve safety for drivers, cyclists, bus riders, and pedestrians alike. Adopting this plan doesn't commit Cupertino to projects or costs, but it does open the door to grants and partnerships that can fund improvements. Both the Planning Commission and Bicycle and Pedestrian Commission have unanimously recommended adoption. I urge you all to vote yes so that the corridor serving our most vulnerable residents and the entire community becomes safer, healthier, and more accessible for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Amanda. Next we have Betsy Megas. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, Betsy Megas. I'm a member of the Bicycle and Pedestrian Committee for the Cities of Santa Clara and for VTA, speaking tonight for myself. Please vote for the vision study, ideally for the full length of the corridor. You're accepting a study here, not necessarily committing to a specific project. I've biked this entire 12-mile corridor. I rode on both of the bike surveys and attended several of the meetings. I biked there on July 15th from North Santa Clara, including 3 miles on Stevens Creek, and then stayed until midnight, so I decided to call in tonight. Cupertino, until this year, has been ahead on placemaking, on bicycle and pedestrian accommodations on this corridor. I was looking to you to set the standard for the rest of us to meet. At this point, it feels to me like you're behind the curve. I really like the separated bikeway that is a little bit of the segment in Cupertino. I think drivers pay attention to a concrete curb a lot better than they pay attention to paint. And I hope that this study goes through and that part, if nothing else, is implemented the full length. You don't fix congestion by preserving or increasing car capacity. You fix congestion by making real options that aren't cars. I'd like to thank the cities, the county, and the VTA for getting together on this key corridor, and the consultants and staff for all the work.
Thank you. That is your time. Next we have San Rao, followed by Evan, 2, followed by Lisa Warren. Welcome, San.
Good evening, Mayor, Chair, and council members. I'm the chair of the Planning Commission, but speaking on behalf of myself only tonight. I'd like to thank Vice Mayor Moore for her eye-opening questions and for setting in the context some of the timeline around when this thing started. I wholeheartedly agree with Vice Mayor Moore that the real need is the north-south corridors around Lawrence and De Anza and San Thomas, and the discussion around scope was out of the scope of the Planning Commission hearing. However, as a resident, I'm free to comment on this issue at a broader scope, and I do think that the county has limited resources, the city has limited resources, and I don't think this thing is really solving the problems. We need a north-south investment, not a east-west investment. I also want to say this corridor is different things to different people. For what on the Planning Commission, we were looking at this as, we've already made investments in buffer bike lanes, we've made investments in medians, we've made investments in trees and shade trees. And so this was incremental improvements in identity preservation and things like that. And then there was incremental investment in technology around adaptive signals and so on, and pedestrian crossings. And then finally, we were really looking at encouraging a broader definition by looking at off-corridor trails as a part of this. And it's clear to me from all of the discussion that none of that is really what the rest of the stakeholders think this is. To the VTA proponents, they want a VTA dedicated transit line. To the advocates, they want a dedicated bike lane, which they've already got with the Stevens.
Thank you, Sam. That is your time. Next, we have Evan, 2, followed by Lisa Warren, followed by Jordan. Welcome, Evan.
Hi, my name is Laurel. I'm a high school student, senior at Basis Independence, San Jose, California. I've lived my whole life within 1 mile of Stevens Creek Boulevard, and I use it nearly every day, whether that's as a transit rider, pedestrian, biker, or driver even. First, I'd like to thank staff, the committee, and their presentation, and council for the work on this matter. I wrote this entire speech on a bus yesterday afternoon, rumbling down Stevens Creek Boulevard, going home from school. We moved at most around 30 to 40 miles an hour for only pretty limited segments too. The transit ride took about double the time of driving. I strongly advise you today to accept the survey's recommendations. The current design of this road is unsafe and unsustainable for our region's future. By applying these tried and tested design elements like separated bike lanes, transit ways, we're making Cupertino's businesses and jobs more accessible for all as well. As a student fully reliant on public transportation, I'm certain my other transit riding, biking, and walking peers have experienced how inaccessible the infrastructure is on this road. Given the amount of amenities and social services available that lie on this corridor, it is crucial that this is made as accessible for as many people as possible, whether the status of their car ownership or not. The Planning and Buy Commissions have already voted unanimously for City Council to accept this recommendation. This is such a crucial opportunity for the city to advance sustainable infrastructure on its roadways. Please make the most of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Evan. Next, we have Lisa Warren, followed by Jordan, followed by Seema Linskog. Welcome, Lisa.
Thank you. So I would also like to point out that I'm very grateful for Vice Mayor Moore and Mayor Chow, for bringing up good discussion, or at least good awareness of some issues that I think do exist with this whole thing. And I also appreciate staff trying to share that, okay, that's not a problem yet, but I think it is a problem already. Does that mean you go for it or you don't? This next step, I don't know. I really wish there'd be some thought about how people themselves and machinery sometimes behave. We have horrible non-attention drivers all throughout the area. We have disrespectful drivers, bike riders, scooters, pedestrians of all kind. If everyone were educated better and really cared about safety of everyone, a lot of this, I believe, may not be necessary. And I think that education for people that aren't paying attention is worthwhile.
Thank you. That is your time. Next, we have Jordan, followed by Seema Lindskog, followed by Alvin Yang, followed by Carol Stanek. Welcome, Jordan.
Hi, my name is Jordan, and I encourage you to accept this multi-jurisdictional transportation and safety study. This isn't just about Cupertino, but it does benefit Cupertino and the other 2 jurisdictions as well. It's going to create a sense of place and safety that matches along the entire corridor so that you have this sense of place throughout. My relationship to this project, so I have a family of in-laws who live about half a mile from Stevens Creek and De Anza, and they're disabled and aren't able to drive. I end up having to drive them places because that is really the only way that we've currently built up our environment to be able to get around effectively. But if I'm not around to be able to help them, I want them to be able to walk and take the bus safely. And this plan has benefits in it for my family and for everyone's families. It's going to make pedestrian safety improvements, bicycle safety improvements, and improve travel and make it safer to drive as well. So I highly, highly encourage you to continue to work with VTA and the other stakeholders to accept and implement this plan. And this plan is multi-jurisdictional because this road is multi-jurisdictional, but you can still make improvements for your north-south corridors. Please work with VTA on those as well.
Thank you, Jordan. Next, we have Seema Lindskog, followed by Alvin Yang, followed by Carol Stanek. Welcome, Seema.
Hi there. So I wanted to mention a couple of different things. So there's a lot on this corridor across the 3 cities, not to mention that already there is the upcoming Deerdown Station, De Anza College, the Highway 85 connection. There's thousands of new homes coming up all along the 3 cities on this corridor. There's offices, there's the future Valco development, there's the Apple headquarters, there's Agilent Technologies, Santana Row Valley Fair Shopping Center, and I could go on and on and on and on. So this is a thriving, busy corridor that's going to get even more thriving and busy, and we can either be part of the solution or we can dig our head in the sand and pretend like Cupertino is not part of this community and part of this region and part of this county. I would hope that we decide to be part of the discussion and to have a seat at the table and figure out how to make smooth traffic flows, whether you go by car, by transit, by bike, or by walking, and how we make this a major corridor that is human-sized and human-friendly, that is a green boulevard with trees and plants and medians and wide sidewalks for pedestrians, and a place that is welcoming and doesn't look like a freeway or like Lawrence Expressway, but is a true human-scaled destination with the placemaking that some people have mentioned.
Thank you, Seema. Next, we have Alvin Yang, followed by Carol Stanek. Welcome, Alvin.
Hi, I'm a longtime resident of 25 years. I actually personally rode the bus for 4 years when I went to San Jose State from Cupertino. The headways, or I guess the time it took to get there, was over an hour for me. That was honestly unacceptable. I don't think anyone should really be subjected to that. I've also personally seen professors at San Jose State teach at De Anza College as well, and they took the bus all the way between both colleges. it's an important corridor, not just for education either. There's so many like points of interest on the corridor, including Santana Row, Valley Fair, previously stated. If you ever go to these places during peak hours, the traffic is terrible because everyone drives there. And it would really alleviate, if you've been to Santana Row during peak hours, you know that you just line up for parking. And if you provide a viable alternative, there'll be less people lining up to park. Or you could just take the bus there. That's all I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Alvin. And our final speaker is Carol Stanek. Welcome, Carol.
Hi, this is Carol Stanek. I'm speaking for myself tonight. I'm speaking in support of the Stevens Creek Boulevard Corridor Vision Study and urge you to accept the vision study. Cupertino needs to look to the future and actively pursue improved transportation routes. However, I strongly disagree with the Planning Commission's recommendation to limit the study to Bubb Road. This is short-sighted and dangerous. Think about it. You're going from 3 lanes in each direction, maybe 6 or 7 lanes through most of the corridor, to 1 lane in each direction on the west side. We need that piece studied. Anyone who travels between Bubb and Foothill knows that this section is routinely used as a popular shortcut by motorists to avoid the Highway 85 to 280 interchange. This is particularly problematic on weekdays in the mornings and afternoons, the same time as parents are taking their children to and from Stevens Creek Elementary School. This is the only route we can take children to school. There are times when it's impossible to turn onto Stevens Creek toward Foothill from the surrounding neighborhoods. In addition, the pedestrian crossing at the entrance of the Blue Pheasant and Blackberry Farm Golf Course is another place that is rife with safety issues. Motorists routinely speed down the hill, so much so that the sheriff often positions officers here to catch speeders. To suggest that the study be limited short of this section is foolish and dangerous. We know the issues. Let's get to work on the corridor all the way through Foothill. Thank you.
Thank you, Seema. Mayor, no additional requests to speak.
Okay. Thank you. Now let's bring it back. First, I'd like to clarify. I think so. We already have separated the Class 4 bike lane along Stevens Creek, right? But only until Bubb Road, or no, until 85.
We have separated buffered bike lanes on Stevens Creek Boulevard between, I believe it's Highway 85 and the eastern limits of the city.
Yeah, and this is still the top priority in our bike path plan, and we are improving the intersections.
Yes.
These are all in our plan, with or without this vision study. Right? Yeah.
Yes.
Good. Thank you. That's good to know. And I would like to also say that I live pretty close to Stevens Creek. My kids bike to school since middle school and biked on Stevens Creek to Cupertino High. And they took the bus to Valley Fair when they were in high school and took the bus to Memorial Park. So today already people have all these options that they could use. But whether, I think the issue here is we are saying accepting this doesn't commit us to anything. However, people are also saying accepting means more funding will come for this particular corridor. But that means the funding will take higher priority than other safety areas in Cupertino. So there seems to be conflicting message. Accepting does mean to VTA and MTC, they are going to prioritize some funding, right, for this corridor. it doesn't mean nothing. If it means nothing, why so many people want us to accept it?
Yeah, I mean, it does not necessarily mean that this corridor will receive priority funding over other projects that Cupertino may be interested in enhancing. This is a multi-jurisdictional study, and projects that come out of it will be multi-jurisdictional and probably rather large cost in nature, and they will not compete for most likely the same funding sources as Cupertino-specific projects. But every project competes on its own merits. So I would not say that this would necessarily take eligible money away from other Cupertino projects.
And we are also doing Homestead Road study with the county level, right? That's also a multi-jurisdiction study.
Yes, there's a Homestead Safe Routes to School study between Stelling and Foothill Expressway. Also multi-jurisdictional, also looking for funding currently.
Mm-hmm. Do I have any idea what's the usage level between these two corridors?
In terms of traffic volumes?
Yeah.
There's more traffic volumes along Stevens Creek Boulevard than there is along that section of Homestead, but it's a different type of traffic, a different demographic. It's very heavily school-oriented along Homestead Road, along that portion, especially at certain times of the day, which is why that's a Safe Routes to School project. It's a different character of a corridor.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. So, Councilmember Wong, so we have the staff resolution, and we have Vice Mayor's version, and then I have my version that I integrated some of Vice Mayor's version. So I would like to know how we could move forward. Any recommendation? Yeah, Councilmember Wong.
I actually do like both your measures, but I don't think we should accept the study. Let me give you a couple reasons. One, Vice Mayor Moore is correct. We have bad data, wrong assumptions, no AASHTO traffic studies. I would expect that from someone, and we're being forced to accept a flawed study. This is the wrong street. Lawrence and De Anza are bigger issues. I expected our staff to look at the numbers before making a recommendation that's not data-driven. We have a north-south issue, not an east-west issue, and let's be honest, federal funding for these programs will continue to drop. The other piece is this is misaligned to our resident needs. The recommendations of this committee does not reflect the common sense values of our residents and surrounding residents who are mostly driving and will not take public transit, nor those who are not physically in shape to be able to do this on the bike lanes. The cost is ridiculous, and the average individual is not going for this. These studies did not take into consideration that 90% of drivers are going to be impacted with the lane reduction. Look at what happened on De Anza. It is a freaking mess. We are over-indexing for bikers and not drivers, and these arguments of better transit with one less lane remains flawed. These are major corridors, and a speed limit reduction to 35 on Stevens Creek? Okay, let's take a lane out, let's drop the speed limit to 35 miles an hour. What do you think's going to happen? That's ridiculous. 3, transit-based housing and the half-mile rule. The wrong street has huge implications to retail deserts. From what we're getting from food deserts, tax planning issues, it's only worsening our quality of life. And 4, we don't even have enforcement in any of these petitions, right? As one of the citizens said, there's no enforcement of traffic laws for bikers. People are coming down the wrong lane. We got e-bikes coming, hitting pedestrians. We got drivers hitting bikers. Like, there's just no enforcement. So let's just make things worse. The study spent most of its time focused on bikers and transit, didn't take into account AVs and other areas. And of course, why so much pressure from outside of Cupertino? If this study is not binding, doesn't commit us to any recommendations, why is there so much non-resident pressure to pass this? And so someone's like, oh, I biked on Stevens Creek to Monte Vista. No, that didn't happen. There's no downside for approving, nor there is not accepting either. So the total cost for bike pass and biking and bike routes has been billions in the state. That's great. I bike too, but the point is I have to get from point A to point B. So I agree with the mayor. Accepting means funding comes from along with a priority, or it goes somewhere else. And so I'm happy to support any of the resolutions that the mayor and the vice mayor supported or put into place, but you have to say we do not accept this study because this is ridiculous. You got a flawed study, no data. It's not even data driven, and I can't believe our staff is making a recommendation for this.
Thank you. Before I go to Vice Mayor and Council Member Mohan, I think the interim city manager wish to say something.
I just wanted to ask Council if I know both Mayor and Vice Mayor has a draft resolution. All of you've seen. Staff has read through. Some of the residents mentioned or speakers mentioned that they have read through. It is somewhat important to be at the table, like staff mentioned, right? Just so our voice is heard. But I also hear concerns about the study as is. So I'm wondering if a conditional acceptance of study could work. And I think one of the drafts did mention that, that we accept the study, but there's some conditions attached to it that could allow for some due diligence. So if council would be open to considering that as a document that we could work off of and get all of your input, that might help the discussion, if you're open to that.
Okay, thank you. Vice Mayor and Council Member Mohan.
Okay, I'm going to try to give a 10-minute presentation in 5 minutes. So I'm going to skim over quite a few slides. VTA is the Congestion Management Agency in Santa Clara County. Cupertino, as you know, has had several studies and plans, and we already have the protected bike lane funded across Stevens Creek Boulevard. We are missing average daily traffic counts. We don't have data from Silicon Valley Hopper. We don't have information from the TDM monitoring report from Apple. So this is important information we could use. So now we're going to take a quick trip into San Jose, down Stevens Creek Boulevard, get a look. Okay, you've got a lot of auto dealerships. There's about 20. So we're headed all the way into West San Carlos Street. Now we're going to turn around and we're in Cupertino. Beautiful medians in Cupertino, protected bike lanes, which are being extended, street trees, center median trees. Public Works does a great job. It's really beautiful. What stands out, how light the traffic is, the dealerships that are along that stretch. Cupertino, as I already mentioned, has the Apple TDM shuttle system, and others like Silicon Valley Hopper. I'm going to be providing this after the meeting so you can see what TDM measures Apple needed to accommodate. They're basically running their own regional bus system. There has been some talk about how many students there are at De Anza. Currently, though, over 12,000 are taking their courses online. The full-time equivalents are actually 4,354. So there's a lot less students that are going to De Anza College in person nowadays. I broke it down by where the students were coming from to try to get some sense if there would be a great deal of traffic from the students going down Stevens Creek Boulevard. And looking at the routes where people are coming from, it doesn't look like it is Stevens Creek Boulevard, but VTA also provides their bus line information. So in Cupertino, you've got the 523 and the 23. And for the stretch in Cupertino, you've got less than 1,700 boardings on a weekday, and less than 400 getting off at the at the De Anza College. Then you also need to look at the fiscal impacts if you're going to alter the streetscape on for San Jose side. Their highest tax revenue areas are food services, drinking places, $2.7 billion, motor vehicles and parts dealers, over $2 billion in taxable transactions. So if you're going to put high capacity there, they're going to be missing all those 20 dealerships. I looked at Santa Clara's as well to see what kind of an impact that would have economically. If you have 8 transit stops in a 9-mile area, that's going to decrease the amount of coverage that these businesses will have. So this project, when they say implement, accept, and implement, this says to include the project in Plan Bay Area 2050, and next step, advocate for project inclusion. So it's actually already in Plan Bay Area 2050. I talked about the number of riders on light rail currently in the system. They've got, they're targeting 23,000. That's the entire light rail system. Whereas these estimates that we have from the study are showing over 20,000 just on this one route, when right now you've got less than 1,800 people using the bus. So where are all these people coming from? We don't have the development that indicates these numbers are accurate. Also, with regards to the estimate on the underground transit line, that seems to be woefully low. Here are the links to the MTC's Plan Bay Area 2050. They're showing a new light rail transit service along Stevens Creek Boulevard. That's not underground. Okay, so one kind of curious thing, VTA Board of Directors approved the vision study already without having any Cupertino representation on their board, and they had no input from the Cupertino City Council. We're providing that information now. Last year, I mentioned cost-benefit analysis. VTA was audited. State auditor said that they did not perform cost-benefit analysis when it planned two major capital projects. And again, it feels like we're in the planning stages, getting ready, and we have no cost-benefit analysis. I have a few process improvement suggestions for this, but we'll get to the last one. The way I see it, our options are that we could modify the resolution and bring it back to council, and or accept one of the modified resolutions that are in the agenda packet. I would stand behind the mayor's modified resolution, and essentially we would be accepting the vision study conditionally. And what we need are regional traffic demand and needs analysis, completion of a cost-benefit analysis, including local fiscal impacts for any high-capacity transit proposal. And I'm out of time, but you can. I'll yield you 30 seconds. Okay. Consider the consideration of Cupertino's existing flexible, unconstrained transit ecosystem. Preservation of Cupertino's corridor investments. As you saw, we've already put money aside for our beautiful medians, our beautiful shade trees, and the protected bike lanes that we have there. And clarify that nothing in this resolution shall be construed to express support for any specific infrastructure, alignment mode, or funding plan without the above conditions being met and subsequent council review. But lastly, I want to recognize all the planning and implementation that staff, especially Public Works, has already done, making Cupertino the leader in this corridor for safety and multimodal transit. Okay, thank you.
At this point, I'd like to suggest that we look at the clock and either make a motion to extend the meeting or acknowledge that we're coming up on 11 o'clock.
I'm going to leave just to make it fun. Just kidding.
Okay, so may I have a motion to extend the meeting?
Motion to extend the meeting.
Okay.
I think we need to extend it for a specific item and for a specific time.
Correct. Motion to extend the meeting for all remaining items to 11:30.
I'll make a motion. I'll make a substitute motion instead to extend for this item until 11:15.
Will you be around after 11:15? Councilmember Froon, will you be around 11:15? I'll accept the motion if you're open to actually getting through item number 19 tonight.
I don't think we're going to get through item number 19.
Okay.
I do hope that we get through item 19, though.
All right. I'll accept the substitute motion to keep this thing moving along. So I'll accept the substitute motion to keep it moving along. We can vote again on item 19 when we get there.
Oh, what do you mean? But the substitute motion means we don't even talk about item 19.
No, because we'll come to a point where we'll actually get to item 19 and vote for it again when we need more time.
I think the motion was exclusive to just 18 through 11:15. So if you vote on that, then the meeting would end after item 18.
Okay, then I'll reject it. Thanks.
Right. Okay. So is there a second for the substitute motion?
What is the substitute?
Only consider this item and then end the meeting at 11:15.
Yeah, I would support that.
Okay, so should we vote?
To be clear, a vote for no means that we will have more time for item number 18. A vote for yes means we're only limited to 11:15 for item 18. Is that correct?
I think a vote yes is what you said. A vote no is we come to your motion, which was we extend, or somebody's motion, forgive me, I can't remember whose, extend through 11:30 and get through 18 and 19.
Okay. Just want to make sure.
Was there a second for Councilmember Wang's motion?
No, Mayor.
There was no second.
So then we have only one motion.
You work the substitute motion?
Work the substitute motion.
And then you go back to the original motion.
But the main motion didn't have
a second.
a second. So we don't have a main motion then.
Correct.
So we have so the substitute motion at the moment is the main motion.
Is the main motion.
Yeah. Okay.
Correct, Mayor.
So
Wong's motion or Fruin's motion?
no, Wang's motion didn't have the second.
Was the Vice Mayor going to second that motion? Okay, so
I'll
Fruin's,
second that motion. But the second comes later. Would that still be the?
We have to reject what's in play and then vote, or vote for what's in play and then not vote.
Mayor, since you seconded Wong's motion, then the substitute motion will be voted on.
Let me just propose a substitute motion right now. That my motion is the motion that Councilmember Wang has moved but didn't have a second, which is that we will consider item 18 and 19 and end the meeting at 11:30.
I will second that.
Okay, so that's the motion we will vote on right now.
Okay, so you withdrew your second. You withdrew your second for the initial motion then?
Yeah.
Yes, okay. So, okay, let me clear this, because now we're voting on the second substitute motion, which is actually the substitute motion.
Pardon, Mayor? So this would be 18 and 19, and then the meeting would end after 19?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, Mayor, I will start the vote for the substitute motion moved by Chow, seconded by Wong, to consider item 18 and 19 and extend the meeting until 11:30 p.m.
Yeah.
The motion carries with Mohan and Fruin voting no.
Okay. So for the current one, do we have motion? So maybe I'll just make a motion that for the item 18, we will use my proposed resolution as a base with the added option that Vice Mayor has proposed in her last slide. So including this point on this slide that's shown on the screen. And that the staff would bring back a revised resolution. And in case there is any meeting happening before we adopt the final revised resolution, the representative, which is Vice Mayor Moore, will convey the message that's in this motion to the steering committee. Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay.
I'd like to make a
comment. Yeah, Councilmember Fruin, and then Councilmember Moore.
May I ask if Madam Clerk is understood what that motion was?
I was just tracking it, but if the mayor would like to repeat it, that I would be fine.
So the
with
motion is use my draft resolution that's in the agenda packet and revise it according to the slides that's shown from Vice Mayor's presentation that's shown on screen.
Oh, that is not on my screen.
Oh, is that not shown on your screen? Let me try and share again.
It was on the Zoom screen, but I don't believe it was on the main display.
Oh. Is that shown now on the...
I see it on Zoom, but there it is.
Not on the... Can the public see?
Yes, they should be able to see it now.
I
Okay.
can see it, and I just want to, if you don't.
So the staff would bring back a revised resolution that integrate the points in this slide with the mayor's draft resolution. And then the representative to the steering committee, which is the vice mayor, will convey the message included in this motion in any steering committee in case that's conducted before we were able to adopt the revised resolution. So we authorize the representative to convey the message before we adopt the formal resolution.
Mayor, can I clarify that?
Yeah.
Are you asking staff to bring the resolution back, and then the study will be adopted with those conditions in the new resolution?
Conditionally accepted.
Okay.
So yeah, I think we have listed the conditions. Yeah. So the vice mayor has listed the conditions.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that.
Just for my clarification, Mayor, are we saying that today we will accept the resolution conditionally with including all these points that you've limited?
So let me just clarify. So today we will accept
the vision study?
No, today we are not. We are making a motion to bring back a resolution, which is a conditioned acceptance of the vision study, and it will be based on my proposed resolution in agenda packet item D. So this is the resolution that's in the packet. So I have mentioned which item is from the staff draft recommendation and which item is comment added. Some of these are added from Parks Bike Path Commission's recommendation, and some are from the Vice Mayor's draft. And so this is the base of the resolution, but then there are some additional points made by Vice Mayor in the final slide of her presentation. So staff would bring back a revised resolution.
So if we already know how we are modifying the resolution, why don't we act on it today? Just to make a point, this is a vision study. It's not limiting us to any specific project. So keeping that in mind, that it is a vision study and that we are one of several jurisdictions, it is better that we have a place at the table rather than not have a place at the table. So my suggestion would be go ahead and accept the resolution conditionally with a couple of these key points. And the fiscal part is important. I mean, we don't want to commit the city to, massive fiscal issues when we don't know what it's for. So, and that I think we can include. I'm not sure the rest of it is
Mm. Okay, so thank you for the comment. And Councilmember Fruin has been waiting, and then I have Vice Mayor and Councilmember Wang. I think that's a good point to consider. Should we? But yeah. Okay, Councilmember Fruin.
So I'm feeling like we're sort of Brexiting here on this topic, and it doesn't really make any sense to me, especially if one of the concerns that we have is that we would like to see other potential investments in north-south mobility. I don't know why anyone would want to work with us if this is the point that we get to. You know, this is a study, it's a vision study, it had a clear scope. Some of that scope did not include some things we would like to see. All of those are useful things to see, and I certainly accept a lot of the criticism that's being lobbed toward VTA. I think all of that makes a lot of sense. That said, I think that we are going well beyond what is necessary for tonight. I would have been comfortable passing simply Vice Mayor Moore's alternative resolution today, and simply striking the Planning Commission recommendation with regard to terminating the study at Pub Road. I think it makes a lot of sense to continue it all the way out to Foothill, especially since this city is the one that wanted to do that in the first place. And I don't know why we would damage our potential for additional grant funding by removing those areas from potential inclusion. Even if the only thing that happens out of all of this is that the rest of Stevens Creek winds up looking the way that it does in Cupertino, I think that's a good result. It would be a considerably better, more livable space that should improve the quality of life for everyone. And it's certainly not the type of high-ticket item that significant high-capacity mass transit would be that I know that people would like to see there. In terms of this enormous discussion about, is it going to impinge on other Cupertino projects? We've already got an answer to that. It almost certainly doesn't. What it probably impinges on is other projects in the region. And I would much rather have that money coming to, say, Stevens Creek Boulevard than going to some random project in San Mateo or Hayward. So I don't know why we want to shoot ourselves in the foot and make ourselves look silly to all of our partners. That's just how I look at it. Like I said, I'd be willing to support the Vice Mayor's resolution as written tonight, with that one caveat.
Okay, so actually it's 11:08, so I would like to call the question. Let's just vote on the motion at the table. Yeah.
And can we hear the motion again?
City Clerk, would you like
So
to
I'll do my best
clarify?
I'll do my best to capture what was discussed. That staff would bring back a revised resolution that integrates the points that are in the slide that the mayor shared with the vice mayor's draft resolution.
No, the mayor's
draft resolution, and the vice mayor is authorized to convey the messages included in the motion to the steering committee in case it meets before the revised resolution is formally adopted, with the study ultimately adopted under those conditions. Mm-hmm. Does that sound accurate?
Yeah. That's great.
Mayor, so to the first part, it was the slide the vice mayor shared and the resolution that the mayor drafted. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The slide that the shared by the mayor.
No.
Shared by the vice mayor.
Vice
Oh, that was
Mayor.
your slide. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
The mayor's draft resolution,
Okay.
a vice mayor's slide.
Okay.
If I could make one more comment, Mayor.
Sorry. Point of order. The question's called. We go to vote.
So
True.
Okay, let's just vote. Okay.
So, what Chow was the mover. I did not detect the seconder.
Oh.
I'll second.
Okay.
So I just want to make sure, are we accepting the report conditionally?
The motion will accept the report conditionally, yeah.
But the conditions are restricted to what you and the vice mayor.
Mayor's slide has shown, yeah.
What if we had other conditions that we never really got to discussing today?
Then when it comes back, you can propose that.
All right, okay.
I'll have another chance.
Okay, I'll take you up on that. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. So let's vote.
Yes, Mayor, you may vote now, and
vote now. Yeah.
so the motion carries with Fruin voting no.
Okay, so now let's go to item 19. Options on commission oversight of transportation matters.
Thank you, Mayor. So this item, there's an interest in exploring the duties and functions and possibly the names of the Bike Ped Commission and Planning Commission. And for this item, Public Works staff will also take this. And I will introduce Director Chad Mosley and David Stillman, Transportation Manager, for this. Thank you.
Good evening, Council. Again, Chad Mosley, Director of Public Works, and I'm keeping Mr. Stillman up here in front of you, and I will let him be the presenter this time. So take it away, David.
Hey, good evening again, Mayor Chow and members of the City Council. This evening, I'll be describing current practice and discussing some options relating to the City Commission oversight of transportation matters and looking to Council to provide input on preferred alternatives. So current practice in the city is the Bicycle Pedestrian Commission is the sole commission to review and advise regarding transportation matters. This review includes transportation policy documents as well as conceptual and construction plans. The focus is on bike ped projects, but the input can extend to broader issues per the Municipal Code Charter, which states that the BPC shall consider, quote, city transportation matters, including but not limited to bicycle and pedestrian traffic, parking, education, and recreation within Cupertino. The Planning Commission is currently not involved, as transportation projects generally do not affect land use and are exclusively within the public right-of-way. The exception, transportation capital projects are brought to the Planning Commission to ensure general plan conformance as part of the CIP approval process each year. So then why are we here tonight? City Council has expressed some interest in potentially involving the Planning Commission in the review of transportation matters. This requires a reevaluation of the structure of commission review to clearly define the roles of the Planning Commission and the Bicycle Pedestrian Commission in the review of transportation projects. Any changes to this structure would require municipal code modification to redefine commission charters, and this would be accomplished through council adoption of the appropriate ordinances at a later date. So the next few slides, I'll present some alternatives to consider for the division of responsibilities between the Planning Commission and the Bike Ped Commission for transportation matters. Option one is to split the responsibilities between the Bike Commission and the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission, under this option, the Planning Commission would review vision and master plans that would typically consider longer-term goals and defined project lists. The Bike Commission would review transportation, conceptual, and construction plans, as well as policy documents that are focused on bike ped and that have little to no potential vehicle impact. The pros of this option are that it retains the Bike Commission expertise on transportation construction projects and bike ped related policy documents, while the Planning Commission engagement on long-term documents would allow for input considered through a broader planning lens. Cons are this may result in confusion regarding boundaries of responsibility as the line between vision studies and conceptual plans can blur. Option 2 is similar to option 1, but with an expanded role for the Planning Commission. Under this option, the Planning Commission reviews broader planning documents as well as conceptual and design plans for projects that may impact vehicular travel. The Planning Commission would also provide approval for projects and plans that may not require City Council approval. The Bike Commission would review remaining design plans that are focused only on multimodal elements with clearly no impact on vehicular travel. The pros are Planning Commission input on projects that may affect vehicle travel would potentially support broader citywide goals, while Bike Commission would continue its role in multimodal focused project review. Cons are that the Bike Commission loses its ability to advise on bike ped projects if the project does have the potential to impact vehicular operations. Option 3 renames the Bike Commission to the Transportation and Mobility Commission. Under this option, the Planning Commission performs no transportation review unless specifically requested by the City Council. The Bike Commission reviews all transportation matters, including projects related primarily to vehicular travel, even if not focused on bike ped. The pros are this maintains the current structure with minimal disruption. The cons are that it may not address the City Council interest in a broader Planning Commission engagement. And our fourth and final option is to transition all transportation matters to the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission would be renamed as the Planning and Transportation Commission under this option, while the Bike Commission would be disbanded. They would review nothing. The pros are this centralizes the decision-making for land use and transportation projects and potentially improves coordination between planning and mobility efforts. The cons include the loss of specialized bike ped advisory body with potential impact to active transportation grant eligibility, as well as risk of reducing focus on multimodal projects. And with respect to the grant eligibility, if the BPC were disbanded, the city would need to demonstrate to MTC how the Planning Commission contains the necessary bike expertise and representation in order to be eligible for regional discretionary funding, including OBEG and TDA3 grants. MTC staff was contacted. They are unable to give staff a definitive answer based upon current info, so city staff would need to follow up with MTC with further details if council does support this option. A few additional considerations. Staff recommends that any single transportation project should ideally be reviewed by no more than one commission. Multiple commission reviews could result in confusion or conflict if either the Planning Commission or the Bike Commission offer differing recommendations. Could result in disenfranchisement of any commissioners on the commission whose input is disregarded by council, and would require additional staffing effort and cost resources. If both the Planning Commission and the Bike Commission divide transportation review responsibilities, then clear criteria to differentiate which commission reviews what type of projects would be necessary. Staff recommends that the city manager be given the authority to make that determination when it's unclear. Additionally, changes to the current review process could influence the scope, timing, and cost of transportation projects. This cost could range to $5,000 to $30,000 per project, depending upon the complexity of the project. Next steps, City Council would provide input and direction to staff this evening. And then if changes to the current process are recommended by the council, then staff would return to the council with necessary ordinances and or policies in order to implement any changes to the municipal code. That concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. It's already 11:20, so maybe we go to public comment first. But first I'd like to address it seems one of the options is to disband the bike ped, but I don't think that's an option for this agenda item because we are just looking at which commission should consider transportation matter. So I don't think there is any will to disband bike ped, but then many people have been given this false information somehow. That's being considered. So I hope that will relieve the anxiety of a lot of speakers who might wish to speak. And so maybe let's go to public comment first. How many we have?
Yes, Mayor, I have 3 requests to speak from Community Hall and 3 requests virtually.
That's already 6 minutes. We have 9 minutes left.
It's 18 minutes.
18. Oh.
18.
Oh no.
6 in total. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I was thinking. Okay, 1 minute. Even if 1 minute, that's already. Okay, but I think people should at least have 1 minute. So please keep it short so we can still have some discussion.
So you're shortening the time to
1 minute.
1 minute. Okay.
Yeah.
So we have Jennifer Griffin, followed by Becca Poltronelli, followed by Alex Richardson.
But maybe before that, I will make a motion to extend the meeting to 11:40 so we can get through this.
I think first you have to move to extend, to set the rules aside. And once that motion passes, then you can move to extend the meeting further.
Okay. So I will make the motion to set the council procedures rule aside, and then we will extend the meeting to 11:40 and try to finish this by then.
Second.
Thank you.
Just extend the meeting to 11:40? Okay. The motion carries with Mohan and Fruin voting no.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, because I was afraid the meeting might end automatically by 11:30. We won't even have time to make that motion to extend it. So.
Okay. Okay, Jennifer, welcome.
So we're doing 1 minute, is that?
That is correct, 1 minute.
I have trouble with this blasted thing in the back.
Okay.
Extremely difficult this evening with this going back. It's not your fault. It's been nerve-wracking. It really has. 1 minute is nerve-wracking too. I don't know if I guess you guys can hear me. You know, the volume's been up and down. I have a headache. I really do. And 1 minute, I know we should have just continued this. I've been coming here for 20 years, all right? 5 years in the county before that. In no way, now I have 3 minutes. Oh, that's nice, okay. In no way is bike ped dominant over the Planning Commission. They have never been. The Planning Commission is second after the City Council. Somewhere along the line in the last 5 years, bike ped ran away with everything. They are not the most important committee in this city. I swear to God, they act like they run the city. They are not elected, okay? Yeah, maybe I'm blaming bike ped, but there's a lot of problems with this. But I want all the transportation to go to the Planning Commission, and bike ped can give their comments as they did in the past. We're looking at SB 79. If that thing gets passed, you are going to have transportation hell. I already told the assembly members that I called, there is no bloody way I am paying for any infrastructure on Stevens Creek Boulevard. You can't get that money out of me. There is no way. I think that we have some very serious problems where cars are being ignored, and I have heard some extremely misinformed comments from people who have never driven a car. Yes, it's scary, but I took driver training in high school, and I drove
as a single female to a job that was at 2 a.m. in the morning. I had to drive. There was no bus at 2 o'clock in the morning. So maybe we need to do driver training in school. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. Next we have Becca Poltronelli, followed by Alex Richardson, followed by Ishan Koshla.
Pardon, Mayor. It appeared that the speaker had 3 minutes. Was that correct?
It was adjusted, Vice Mayor. We were having a little trouble because it was not a fixed time in the new timer.
Okay, so the next one, and they just adjusted it down.
Yes.
Okay, very good. I didn't want to short anyone on their time. Okay, thank you.
So to confirm, do I have 60 seconds or 180 seconds? Okay, all right. One time, my dad was biking around town, and he came across a section of the road that had no bike lane. You know, the kind of thing a bike ped commission does, and was forced to ride in the street. He was hit by a car. I am lucky I'm standing here today. There are others who aren't. Please ensure future children don't have to grow up without a father because some bureaucrats decided that pedestrian and child safety was inconvenient for their plan to seize power. Please keep the Bicycle Pedestrian Commission separate. In recent years, they have been making good progress towards a safer Cupertino. Don't lose that momentum. I, along with thousands of other kids in this town, bike to school. The things that the Bike Ped Commission does are what keep us alive and safe. If you care about me or any of the other children in our town just trying to get to school, do not merge the Bicycle Pedestrian Commission with the Planning Commission and let them do their jobs of keeping us alive and safe. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next we have Alex Richardson, followed by Ishan Kosla. Alex Richardson. Okay. Ishan Kosla. Welcome.
Good evening, council members. I'll keep it simple for all of us. My name is Ishan Kosla. I'm currently a junior at Cupertino High School, and I take pride in the fact that I'm able to walk and bike all across Cupertino every single day, knowing that I can stay safe and get to my routes accessibly. There is no reason to eliminate the Bike Ped Commission. And I don't want to make this a debate about cars versus bikes. I mean, that's a whole nother story. The fact is, the Bike Ped Commission is here to promote safety and accessibility. Both of those are very basic human rights, safety and accessibility. Anything else to eliminate the Bike Ped Commission, merge it with the Planning Commission, is simply removing the access to safety and accessibility for walkers and bikers in Cupertino, which make up a large portion of our population. It's that simple. I bike. I've almost been hit by cars when I was biking. Various boulevards, we can get into all of that. Safety and accessibility, it's that easy. We already have the commission. It's not like we're making a brand new commission. It's already there. I support option 3, and I hope all of you do too as well. We can keep it. Its function has been working over the past decades, and I hope it can continue. Thank you.
Thank you. And now we will move to those requesting to speak virtually. There are now 9 people: San Rao, Betsy Megas, and Carol Stanek. Welcome, San.
Good evening, Mayor Chow and council members. I'm the chair of the Planning Commission, but speaking on behalf of myself only as a Cupertino resident. The reason this item is being heard is because there was outcry and outpour against the kinds of changes we were seeing last year this time with the Dianza Boulevard lane reductions that did not come to council for a vote. And it was believed that it was heard at Bike Ped Commission and that was sufficient. And clearly that test case has proven to be an abject failure, despite staff vehemently disagreeing. The fact is, after that after that road lane reduction, there have been no usage of bikers on that, nor is there any data from staff that the bike lane utilization has increased. The Bike Ped Commission has been
Thank you, Sam. That is your time.
Multimodal duties. It does not represent the car driver.
Actually, he actually had 15 more seconds, so I'm going to unmute you. Apologize.
Yes, I urge you to send all transportation projects to the Planning Commission where we can actually be unbiased in reviewing multimodal obligations. We have an obligation to maintain our road level of service and at the same time maintain safety.
Thank you. And next we have Betsy Megas, followed by Carol Stanek, followed by John. Welcome, Betsy.
Thank you. Betsy Megas, speaking for myself. Please keep your bike ped commission. I ride about 3,000 miles per year, primarily for transportation. It's not because I don't have a car, it's because I would really rather not put all of that carbon into the air, have all of that cost in my life. I think riding my bike has probably saved me tens of thousands of dollars over the years and tens of thousands of miles. Riding a bike, you know things that drivers just don't. You know things about safety that drivers just don't. And safe streets for people who walk and bike are safe streets for everybody, including students, including adults, including seniors, including people with disabilities, including people who drive. Keep your bike ped commission. Thank you.
Thank you, Betsy. Betsy, next we have Carol Stanek, followed by John, followed by Henry Wajaja. Welcome, Carol.
Hi, this is Carol Stanek speaking for myself tonight. I am urging you to adopt option 3 to continue with the bike ped oversight and rename to Transportation and Mobility Commission. As staff has identified, transportation matters could go to the Bike Ped Commission. The pros are that it maintains the current structure, minimal disruption, clarifies the scope. The other options all introduce confusion between multiple commissions. We don't need more confusion. What we need is a commission that is focused on transportation and prioritizes those most vulnerable. And who are those? Those are the bicyclists and the pedestrians. We should not deprioritize the safety of those most vulnerable on our streets. The other options will put our residents at risk. Let's keep it clear and let's keep the responsibility with the Bike Ped Commission. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol. Next we have John, followed by Henry Wajaja, followed by Seema Linskog. Welcome, John.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, good evening. This is John Zhao. I served previously on the Bike Ped Commission, and I'm currently staff on VTA's programming team, but speaking as an individual. I just strongly advise the City Council to fully consider the potential implications for funding eligibility. So MTC Resolution number 4108 about TDA Article 3 states that for eligibility, MTC requires a BPAC or equivalent body, and that body must be composed of pedestrians and bicyclists. MTC Resolution 4493, Complete Streets Resolution, applies to regional discretionary funding sources such as OBAG. That's millions of dollars of funding that could be affected. Option 1, 2, and 4 could affect eligibility, so I encourage the city to work with MTC to clarify those requirements before coming to a decision. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Next we have Henry Wajaja, followed by Seema Linskog, followed by Hervé Marcy. Welcome, Henry.
So good evening, council members. My name is Henry. I'm a former Cupertino High School student. I bike to school along hundreds of students who still do. I know firsthand how important it is to have people watching out for those of us on bikes and on foot. And the Bike Ped Commission, which exists in neighboring cities, by the way, to their full power. It's not just a formality, it's the body that ensures that our streets are safer, that projects consider students, parents, seniors who rely on walking and biking, and commissioners bring experience, expertise, and a real understanding of how streets work for the people who actually use them. Their input prevents accidents, it identifies hazards before they become tragedies, and it guides decisions in ways that no bureaucracy alone really can. I really can't believe how you would even consider limiting the power of the Bike Ped Commission, There are students who have survived bike accidents, and there are people who aren't alive to tell the story of how dangerous streets can be. So I urge you to vote for option 3 for those reasons. Thank you.
Thank you, Henry. Next, we have Seema Lindskog, followed by Hervé Marcy, followed by Louise Sadati, followed by Michael Wang. Welcome, Seema.
Hi there. I want to start by saying this is entirely shameful to be having this discussion and this vote at 11:36 at night and giving only 1 minute per resident. Shame on you, all of you. This is ridiculous. You're trying to do a power grab in the middle of the night, and it is entirely inappropriate. The other thing I'd like to mention is what we're talking about here, the people who bike and walk in our city. These are students. These are your children. These are our children. That's who you're going to be disenfranchising if you reduce the powers of the Bike Ped Commission. So basically what you're saying, if you do options 1, 2, or 4, is that you value being able to go more than 35 miles an hour on the streets of our city more than you value the safety of our children, like Councilmember Ray Wong said in his little rant a little while ago. So is this really what we want in the city?
Thank you, Seema. Next, we have Hervé Marcy, followed by Louise Sadati, followed by Michael Wang. Welcome, Hervé.
Thank you, Mayor Chow and esteemed council members. My name is Hervé Marcy. I'm part of the BPC, but I'm speaking my name only. Handing over power of oversight of transportation projects from the Bike Ped Commission to the Planning Commission is a mistake. If this transfer happened, it would prevent residents from providing valuable feedback about the issues they face related to transportation matters. No later than a couple of weeks ago, residents living right here next to City Hall joined the BPC meeting and mentioned during public comments their worry about cars driving too fast on Torrey Avenue and asking for a raised table and high visibility flashlights. This project too would also impact traffic cars because pretty much all of them do in some ways. So the very existence of the Bike Ped Commission made it easy and straightforward for these people to voice their concern about their daily life in our city. A combined Bike Ped and Planning Commission would stifle the voice of residents by making it harder, not easier, to voice their concerns. Is this City Council for or against resident input? So please vote for option 3, continue with the BPC oversight.
Thank you, that is your time. Next, we have Louise Sadati, followed by Michael Wang. Welcome, Louise. And Louise, you'll need to unmute yourself. Okay, I will go on to the next requester and I will circle back to you. Next speaker is Michael Wang. Welcome, Michael.
Hello. As a 20-year resident of Cupertino, I just want to note that voting to reduce the power of the Bike Ped Commission really shows the City Council's priorities in terms of the general age population of the city. I just want everyone to note general ages of people who went up and asked for the council to at least maintain the power of the Bike Ped Commission and those who did not do that. So yeah, that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you, Michael. And now we will try Louise Sadati one more time. Welcome, Louise.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Wonderful, thank you. I'm really disheartened that the council would have this discussion at 11:30 and only give the people who care about the Bike Ped Commission 1 minute to speak. Please keep the Bike Ped Commission as a separate entity from the Planning Commission. I support option 3. It is a requirement for grant funding and application for a city to have a separate Bike Ped Commission. All the surrounding cities have a separate Bike Ped Commission. The Planning Commission's mission is land planning. The Bike Ped Commission's is safety for bicycle and pedestrian safety. Safety should be a core issue with the city. Please allow the most vulnerable, walkers, bikers, which include children and seniors, to have their safety closely reviewed and protected by the Bike Ped Commission, whose core mission is their safety. All the surrounding cities
Thank
have
you,
a
Louise.
Bike
That
Ped
is your
Commission.
time. And Mayor, no additional requests to speak on this item?
Okay, it's already 11:41, so looks like we'll have to, we'll close the public comment, and then we will have to continue this at the next meeting. Yeah, okay?
Yeah.
But there will be no more public comment when it comes back. Yeah. Okay, thank you so much. Yeah.
Mayor.
Yeah. So let's adjourn the meeting in memory of former Mayor Hong Wei. I think let's take 1 minute of silence. Okay, so meeting is adjourned.